This man steps out of the shower and freezes. His shadow has vanished. At first, he assumes he's imagining it, but no matter where he glances, it's completely missing. He searches everywhere, still nothing. Suddenly, he comes face to face with it. His shadow is just standing there. Detached from him for a moment, panic sets in. Is it alive, threatening? Could it attack him? Then a thought occurs. What if he could control it? He hesitates briefly, then commands it to lift its hand. Immediately, it obeys. Something is definitely unusual. Recently, bizarre events have been occurring to Jiang Yu. First, his eyes start to hurt and he begins seeing health bars above people's heads. Then things escalate. He starts having visions of the city in ruin, teeming with monsters fighting each other, only for reality to snap back as if nothing happened. As if that weren't enough, he discovers a mysterious tattoo on his chest, emitting a dark energy, and now he has a living shadow that follows his every command. Excited, he begins giving it more tasks. He even makes his shadow dance. Soon, a headache creeps in and he starts wondering where the shadow came from. A glowing orb emerges from his chest tattoo, transforming into a screen. The screen displays his shadow's stats and attributes. It has only one skill, shadow devouring. He taps the plus icon to see more details about his shadow. Essentially, his shadow is a perfect copy of himself, including all memories. It will follow commands but cannot think independently. Jiang tries passing his hand through it and realizes it has no physical form. He asks if it retains all his memories and the shadow nods. He immediately grabs his math homework from the table. He asks the shadow to assist with it. Jiang is surprised it can actually hold a pen, making him question whether it's truly incorporeal. Since it cannot think for itself, the shadow fails the homework and drops the pen. Frustrated, Jiang remarks that he could finish the homework in 2 minutes. He wonders if the test might be too tough for it. Instead of solving problems, he instructs the shadow to write down the lesson from memory. This time, the shadow gets to work. Jiang thinks to himself he no longer needs superhuman abilities, as his shadow can basically cheat on tests. He might as well get rid of all his books. Jiang sees incredible potential. He checks the attribute panel again for more options. Clicking the plus icon beneath his shadow skill reveals he can draw shadow points from any darkness. This boosts his strength and can be applied even to inanimate objects. Jiang wonders how the ability functions, unsure if he needs to touch the darkness directly or the object itself. He scans the room and spots the shadow in the corner. He tries absorbing it, but nothing happens. Annoyed, he complains that there's no manual or beginner's guide for the skill. Suddenly, a notification informs him that his eyes have undergone a mysterious transformation. He gains a new power called Shadow Pupil, allowing him to perceive the dark aspects of the world. Jiang wonders if he's seeing the same place as before. He decides to proceed cautiously. Thinking about his powers, he tells his shadow to stop cheating. Instead, he orders it to do push-ups. The shadow rises and begins sinking into the floor. Jiang panics, unsure where it went. Moments later, the shadow emerges again and stands before him. Jiang asks its location, and the shadow replies that it's on the dark side. When asked what it's doing, it explains it's exercising as instructed. Jiang wonders if training on the dark side is more effective. He dismisses the shadow and lets it return. Once gone, he sits at the table, ready to work seriously. The next morning, he's asleep on his desk, dreaming of food. He wakes abruptly, back aching from sleeping on his stomach. At the same time, someone knocks on the door. Jiang opens it to find his girlfriend and classmate, Lu Yao Yao. He notices her health bar at 93 and wonders why it dropped. He concludes it's likely due to pollution, as his shadow returned from the dark side. He asks why she came early, and she says she heard about his latest drawing. She wants to check out his design collection. Yao Yao is startled as Jiang shuts the door too quickly. She gets slightly annoyed, while Jiang is stunned to notice cracks forming in the wall. He is astonished by his own strength. His girlfriend, equally surprised, examines him carefully from head to toe. After a thorough check, she asks if he has been going to the gym. She quickly dismisses the question, realizing he's just a loner who hasn't worked out in years. Still, it seems odd that he developed such muscles so suddenly. She starts touching his muscles and asks if he's been doing something special. Jiang denies it, explaining that he only lifts his bookshelves daily. He then realizes that his shadow's exercises are also affecting his real body. His girlfriend is skeptical that he could achieve that body with so little effort and suspects he might be using some performance-enhancing substances. She warns him that there's still a chance to stop. Jiang mocks her for talking too much, but before he can respond, she grabs his arm and reaches behind her. "Pocket," Jiang shouts, asking if she's planning to use a deadly weapon on him. Yao Yao pulls out a wristband and explains it's a device for measuring the pollution index of a person. Acts like killing aliens, ingesting foreign objects, or harboring resentment can increase this index. If not purified in time, it may transform someone into an abnormal form. Jiang laughs internally, confident that his chest device contains no pollution, but his amusement turns to shock as the device reacts. He sees his girlfriend with a gun, ready to intervene if necessary. Summoning all his willpower, he calms the reaction. The result shows no pollution. He exhales in relief, realizing he's safe. She mentions that her father taught her to be cautious. Zhang shares that he recently drew some famous comic characters and asks if she wants to see them. Yao Yao eagerly agrees. Later, Zhang reflects on how narrowly he avoided being caught. He opens the system window and reads a notification that his shadow has started exercising in the shadow world. It has earned shadow points. As he reads more notifications, he realizes that his shadow has grown significantly stronger. This shocks him, and he wonders if his shadow has been training all night. The shadow continues its training, and he can already feel the effects. Yet he feels the workouts aren't enough and decides to increase the difficulty. He orders his shadow to do push-ups and planks. These aren't ordinary planks. He instructs the shadow to perform push-ups on 2 fingers of one hand and maintain a tiger stance. Zhang makes his shadow practice martial arts moves and squats. He further raises the difficulty with weighted runs and core exercises. Meanwhile, Yao Yao stands outside and overhears him directing his shadow. She concludes that Zhang is genuinely training and that her previous doubts were unfounded. She feels reassured. She returns home to read comics. The scene shifts to year 99 of the disaster calendar, January 20th, the first day of shadow acquisition. The shadow trains all night without tiring. Zhang grows stronger thanks to the shadow's persistent effort. He feels ashamed that other youths might be content with mediocrity. The next day, he schedules more shadow training and sees incredible results. He wonders if a single punch could now defeat Yao Yao. He realizes he still needs to work harder. His Uncle Li, who patrols at night, visits but notices nothing unusual. Uncle Li has aged and lost an arm. Zhang calculates that he could defeat 3 Uncle Lis and 10 Yao Yaos with one punch. He trains even harder the next day. He decides his life cannot continue like this and resolves to acquire extraordinary ability. He commits to relentless training. On January 24th, his shadow trains intensely while he completes his own tasks. On January 25th, he follows the same routine, shadow training and his own work. On January 26th, he attempts self-training, but stops after just 10 push-ups. Shadow point accumulation is slow. He has earned 8 shadow points and wonders how long it will take to reach 10, which would activate shadow possession. He thinks he could improve faster if he personally enters the dark side. A black swirl emerges at his feet, slowly pulling him in. He disappears into the floor and enters the dark side. Surprisingly, he's still in his room, unsure if this is truly the dark side. He steps outside to investigate. Earlier attempts only materialized him in his room. He realizes he can't access the dark side from indoors. He must go outside to explore. The dark side mirrors the real world, which frustrates him. He continues walking and hears a noise behind him, hoping it's someone guiding him. Instead, a strange creature attacks. He dodges successfully. The monster has red glowing eyes. Strikes again, but he evades every attack. Zhang opens a shadow circle and jumps in. Fortunately, he escapes the dark side through the shadow circle, avoiding the creature. The experience terrifies him. He is shaken, unable to understand why the creature attacked him or what it wants. Determined, he steadies himself and prepares for whatever comes next, realizing he must stay vigilant. The creature suddenly attacked him out of nowhere. Fortunately, his training over the past few days made him agile enough to avoid the creature. The protagonist is determined to get revenge on that creature for attempting to kill him. On January 28th, he returns to confront the same creature in a fight once more. This time, he takes a blow. The following day, he tries again but fails to get his revenge, suffering a severe hit to his chest. On January 30th, he is struck 3 times, losing 6% of his health. The protagonist decides to take a break and recuperate at home. Yao Yao tends to his wounds. She asks him if he had been in a fight. He responds, saying that these scars are his badges of honor. Yao Yao teases him about his scars, joking that he'll become conceited when he gets stronger. Zhang dismisses her comment and asks about the upcoming martial arts exam. It's only a month away, and he's curious about Lu's plans for it. It seems like she has forgotten about it. The year has been disastrous, with most industries losing popularity, especially those related to culture and the arts. Those working in the arts have sunk to the bottom of society. Public interest in entertainment has waned, with people now more focused on national affairs. Night guards have garnered significant attention. They have become the new icons. Anyone who aspires to join the Night Guard must pass the state's martial arts exam. Those who pass the test go on to lead a special life. Yao Yao confesses that she has no intention of taking the martial arts exam. To Zhang's surprise, she actually wants to study music. Zhang encourages her to pursue music, but he's uncertain whether her father will approve. Her father holds a high position in the night patrol department. His role is equivalent to that of a second-generation worker who bypasses the civil service exam, becoming an independent professional instead. Yao Yao isn't concerned about her father's opinion. She's more worried about the new law, which mandates that everyone must take the martial arts exam this year. Zhang isn't surprised. as the authorities never care about people's desires. They've allowed even students with modest qualifications to apply for the general exam. Yao Yao mentions that the pressure on the night patrol has intensified. If nothing goes wrong, she'll definitely take the martial arts test. Zhang recalls the instrument Liu brought to the test last time. He also remembers the many intricate details on the day of the test, which made it impossible for him to conceal himself. However, he's hopeful that his little guide won't place him in a bad position. He asks Yao Yao if the reagent she brought last time can be used to ward off alien species. Yao Yao doesn't think it's effective for that purpose. The tool can only detect aliens and other supernatural beings. She adds that if he encounters a truly unusual alien, he should run as fast as possible and make an emergency call before it's too late. Zhang wants to ask more about this rare type of alien, but Yao Yao changes the subject. She informs him that his injuries have healed and she will be back shortly. Zhang coughs and asks if he could access the basic paranormal knowledge that her family possesses. Yao Yao wonders if he intends to take the public exam in the future. He clarifies that he just wants to know in advance, since the martial arts exam is mandatory this year. He also reveals that he's planning to create a comic about superhumans and alien blood. The concept of a superhuman comic excites Yao Yao, and she's eager to learn all about it. Zhang shares the basic premise. The comic centers on a skinny boy named Ben. He's bullied at school but has a kind heart. With the support of his friends and teachers, he's chosen by the Night's Watch and becomes part of the Super Warrior Project. He relies on his incredible determination. He evolves into a powerful leader, Captain Ben, through transformation and injections of the super soldier serum. Instead of sending him to the battlefield, the night patrolman assigns him to high-level social events. The watchman wants him to get familiar with wealthy families and aristocratic women. Zhang continues to describe the comic's storyline as Yao Yao listens, captivated. Later, Yao Yao takes him to her house, which is on the same street. They enter her room, and she asks him to wait while she goes to her dad's room to retrieve the material. As she's about to leave, Zhang stops her when he spots a comic about sibling love. She assures him it's not hers. Her friend left it behind. She walks away, warning him not to handle her belongings. After she leaves, Zhang notices that she hasn't changed at all. She still loves music and refuses to part with her childhood instrument. He remembers how she used to insist he listen to her music, even when he had no interest. He puts on one of her tapes and relives their childhood memory. Yao Yao comes in and teases him about finally enjoying music. The main character is drawn back into memories of the past. She recalls that he couldn't even recognize musical instruments back then. He dismisses her comment and discovers a VR device. He puts it on and plunges into a chasm. The virtual world feels completely real. The strange world is filled with taboos and hazards, a breeding ground for disaster. Aliens originate from this enigmatic place and constantly wreak havoc on the real world. Zhang wonders if these creatures are the same ones he saw in the hospital. Between reality and the abyss lies a shadow realm known as the world's dark side. The dark side is actually an extension of reality. Before the abyss opened, aliens had already infiltrated the world through this shadow layer. Night Guardians monitor these entrances and exits, yet some still slip through. Every 2 months, the shadow layer resets to mirror the current reality. At this time, alien numbers surge, making it critical to eliminate them promptly. Because the shadow layer greatly weakens human combat ability, it's not advised for anyone above the 4th level to enter. Visibility in the shadow layer ranges from 3 to 5 meters and improves with strength. The shadow layer is highly corrupting. Prolonged exposure can transform humans into strange beings. Yet Zhang wonders why Chia Yingyang felt no discomfort entering. Through the VR device, he sees numerous alien creatures and grows anxious. He realizes that defeating them requires immense power. To confront these aliens, one must possess extraordinary strength. He spots a figure and wonders if that person is truly exceptional. He is unsure if passing the martial arts exam will make him like that. The extraordinary beings are mostly aliens in human form. Their role is to combat pollution and alien threats. Death often risks transformation into heterogeneity, so they must expend all their energy before dying. Otherwise, they may turn into deadly monsters. Overwhelmed, Zhang removes the device. He tells Yao Yao that the data is massive and outdated, then asks for a back massage. She gets annoyed. He tempts her with 3 original Ultra HD drawings. She agrees and begins massaging him, noticing his stiff shoulder. Zhang explains his neck muscles grew from working out. She asks if he also trains his abs. He realizes she wants to touch his abs and allows it. While she does, her father walks in and sees them. They all eat together, tension brewing between Zhang and Uncle Liu. Yao Yao insists her father is mistaken. Lu doesn't believe her, having seen them together. Yao Yao is speechless and urges Zhang to explain. He hesitates but finally tells her father it was all his fault. Zhang admits responsibility and lets Liu act as he wishes. Lu, enraged, looks for a knife. Yao Yao tries to calm her father while Zhang attempts to escape, claiming it's a misunderstanding. Yao Yao and Zhang are childhood sweethearts with contrasting personality. The world sees Zhang as reckless, while Yao Yao is well-mannered and likable. Despite differences, she has always enjoyed playing with him as children. He wonders if it's because he once protected her. He also believes she admires his courage and look. He recalls how she played with him even when he pretended to be a homeless kid. To prank others, he remembers her joining in despite her father's scolding. Uncle Lu has always been wary of him, sitting on the sofa and eyeing them suspiciously. He takes a drag of his cigarette and inquires about the scene he witnessed upon entering his daughter's room. Zhang clarifies that he's seeking information regarding extraterrestrial life and supernatural entities. Liu, however, believes he's being overly pampered. He asks if Shang understands the true reason behind withholding this information from the students in advance. Zhang is unaware of the actual reason, so Liu takes the opportunity to explain. Human souls are complex and prone to deviation. Despair can push a person into darkness. Some things are not suitable for everyone, as not everyone possesses the strength of will to handle them. Even a small crack in the soul can be exploited by alien forces. Therefore, the government wants to assess candidates' suitability before the official evaluation. Only those who are physically and mentally resilient are allowed to interact with the supernatural. He also tells them that the path to gaining superpowers is long and fraught with peril, demanding both patience and determination. He mentions that every year, many individuals lose control of their abilities, even with the help of assistive devices. This makes him feel sorrowful, so he advises Zhang against learning about these matters too soon. Zhang thanks him for the counsel but tells him that it's unavoidable, since this year is the military comprehensive examination. Furthermore, he believes it's better to rely on his own abilities than others. He also tells them that having someone to rely on can be helpful when the world is falling apart. Before Liu can respond, he receives a call for an urgent mission. He prepares to leave, telling Jiang to behave like a gentleman. He also warns him that if he does something wrong, he'll kill him. Zhang assures him not to worry, as he won't make any mistakes with Yao Yao again. Yao Yao isn't pleased with his comment, as she believes they've never made a mistake in the first place. The scene changes to a busy day, with people out and about handling their daily tasks. Jiang has also stepped outside, standing in front of a screen. The screen shows the members of the Sunset Watch, who are tasked with protecting the Sea of Clouds. The protagonist appears a little disheartened by the limited information he's received about the supernatural. While grocery shopping, he reflects that he won't be able to access the information again, as Uncle Lu will keep it hidden. At the same time, he gets a call from Yao Yao, asking him to bring milk and eggs. Jing jokingly responds that she should also ask for pads if she needs them. He grabs the pads and heads out. On his way home, he's preoccupied with thoughts of his upcoming exam and the impact of his shadow training. The shadow exercises are helpful, but they won't be sufficient on their own. So he decides to incorporate more hands-on exercises. He's seen plenty of advertisements for alien combat training, and this year, the martial arts exam is expected to have more candidates. He looks up at the dark sky, feeling a sense that something terrible is about to unfold in the world. He realizes it's best not to dwell on it, and instead focus on his own growth through combat with extraterrestrial beings. He checks his surroundings to ensure no one is watching, then steps into the shadows. As soon as he steps in, he notices someone with only 14% health approaching him. As the person draws nearer, Jiang recognizes him. It's a young boy who lives on the same street. He's badly injured and on the verge of death. Jiang asks him what he's doing in the shadows, but before the boy can reply, he collapses to the ground. Then, a monstrous creature emerges behind him. It's the same one Jiang has been seeking revenge on. Jiang also notices a small boy and girl hiding from the creature. He now understands why the boy is so young. This realization fills Zhang with rage, and he prepares to confront the monster. The scene shifts back to when the young man entered the dark side. He's a night guard returning from a long shift. He's exhausted from the hours and pressure of his job. He regrets taking the martial arts exam, as he never would have signed up had he known about the intense pressure. Suddenly, he hears cries for help. Upon closer inspection, he sees two children being pulled toward the shadows. The young man wonders if it's an alien force that's drawing people into the darkness. Still, according to what's known, alien races only come here to cause trouble and stir up chaos. He's never heard of people being pulled to the dark side like this. The children keep screaming as the black vortex drags them inward. The young boy promises he'll rescue both of them and rushes over. He grabs their hands and the darkness swallows all three. The spinning shadow flings them to the far side. The kids have no idea where they are and burst into tears. Only then does he understand he's ended up on the dark side while off duty. He doesn't even have his weapons or his anti-pollution gear with him. He's convinced he'll be killed today. Before he can react, a monstrous alien appears. The kids panic and he strikes at it. To his surprise, it vanishes, but he realizes there's no way back. Looking around, he sees the area crawling with alien species. Any of them could attack at any moment. After so many years as a government worker, he's nearly forgotten the combat skills he learned for the martial arts exam. And worst of all, he's stuck in this dark world with two small children who rely on him to stay alive. They're both crying. All he can do is send an emergency alert through his wristband and wait for rescue. He transmits the signal, then takes the band off. The band can help the two kids resist the pollution for a short time. Since keeping it for himself won't help, he hands it to them. The little boy asks if they'll make it, and he tells him they definitely will. He tells him to hide someplace safe because he has to deal with the monster first. He remembers passing the military strength test when he was 18. After that, he got into the university's Great Powers department. He also recalls how intensely he built up his fundamentals in his first year of college. Back then, he dreamed of becoming a fighter someday. He can still remember defeating an unclassified alien in his second year at university. But he quickly learned that in the superpower world, effort can't outweigh innate talent. He never believed in destiny. He kept grinding, yet in the end, he couldn't break past his limits. With no alternative, he left the military forces department and became an ordinary Night's Watch employee. He snaps back to reality and sees the monster closing in. It's a four-dimensional, mid-range, first-class half-beast. It lunges at him and he manages to strike back. The move feels strangely familiar, but then the monster catches him off guard and lands a hit. He should have been able to evade, but his body couldn't match what his mind intended. The creature comes again. He slips aside and tries to escape, but his limbs grow heavy, like countless needles are stabbing through him. So he has to end it before the pollution finishes him. He readies a blow and unleashes his shadow-based blinding ability. The monster collapses under the attack, but the boy starts bleeding as the pollution intensifies. Each time he taps his powers, the pollution rises as well. People like him, with weak will and low qualifications, can't activate supernatural abilities again and again. Luckily, since becoming a civilian, he's used his power only a handful of times. The monster prepares to strike, and he steels himself to fight to the very end. The monster charges at full strength, and he's slammed down onto the ground. He coughs up blood, shocked by how fast the enemy has adapted to his strength. Yet it's only an average-class species. Any martial arts student at the university could have killed it without much effort. He wonders if his lack of talent is why he's struggling with this thing. He knows he can't beat it, but as a night patrol, he refuses to quit before the end. All he can do is stall for time and wait for reinforcements. As he looks at the terrified child, the monster strikes him again. He crashes to the ground once more, and this time it feels like he's truly about to die. He remembers seeing a close relative die when he was 15. They were all killed by alien species. That's why he chose to join the military forces when he turned 18. He also recalls that at 20, after finishing his second year, he had to leave the combat department. Afterward, at 21, he entered the night police as a trainee and later became a full employee. It has been 4 years since he joined the night police. Even with all the hardships, he still sees his life as ordinary in a world where humans and aliens have been at war for 4 years. But those years haven't been nearly as calm as people claim. They've always wanted to run from reality, yet no one can deny it when the dark clouds appear. He thinks that for people with superpowers, death is simply the norm. Still, he won't surrender because he must protect the kids. He swallows a blue pill and rises, flooded with fresh strength. He prepares himself for another round with the alien. The young boy takes charge, relentlessly attacking the monster. The alien is unable to defend itself from his continuous strikes. The boy holds on to the hope that he might defeat the alien if he just hangs on a little longer. However, in the end, the pollution reaches him, and the alien retaliates. Unable to endure the blow, he collapses to the ground. His head starts to bleed, and he senses his impending doom. He realizes his abilities are not enough to take down the creature. Feeling powerless, he laments that even with the help of pills, he couldn't win. His dull and ordinary life is about to end, just as he was ready to give up. Then he hears Zhang's voice. He wonders if he's a night's watchman, but his voice is too youthful for that. It's strange to think a normal human could be here on the dark side where it's highly unlikely. Zhang approaches and places a hand on his shoulders, telling him to lie down and leave the rest to him. The boy continues to wonder how Jiang ended up here, on the dark side. No one is supposed to enter the dark side, as it is tightly controlled by the inspection department. He speculates if Jiang is the mysterious figure living here. At that moment, the alien attacks Jiang, but he swiftly dodges. The boy feels weak in comparison. The alien turns its attention back to him, but Zhang strikes first. He lands a blow that lowers the alien's health from 24 to 23, warning it to leave the boy alone, as Jiang is its true adversary. With a glass bottle in hand, Zhang prepares to attack. He smashes it and uses the broken bottle to intimidate the alien. Having faced it before, he knows its fighting style well. The alien is badly wounded, and its speed and strength are considerably diminished. Zhang recognizes this and is ready to take full advantage of it. Enraged, the alien tries to strike again. Zhang skillfully avoids the attack. The boy struggles to determine whether Zhang is actually weak. However, he is certain that even without special techniques, Zhang can overpower his opponents with ease. Jiang is resolute in his desire to take revenge on the creature. Summoning all his strength, he attacks its vulnerable spot. The alien retaliates, tossing him aside. Realizing that his attack on its weak spot forced it into defense mode, He watches as the monster charges at him. He questions what to do next, as he knows he'll be finished after 2 more hits. If he were alone, he would have retreated from the dark side and returned later. But he can't leave yet. He must save the children and the boy. Then he notices the alien's health has dropped to 20%. He thinks to himself that at this level of health, he shouldn't fear the alien anymore. He must be strong enough now to defeat it. The boy advises him to strike its right rib as it's critically injured. Jiang nods and charges at the alien. The creature hears him and gets cautious. To its surprise, Jiang attacks from the left side, pointing out the alien's neglected defense there. Following the boy's advice, the attack causes its health to drop to 18%. The alien attempts to flee, and Jiang wonders if it's trying to escape. The boy urges him to act quickly, as the alien is heading straight for the children. The alien nears the children, opens its mouth, and prepares to strike. Terrified, the children scream for help. Jiang grabs a soda can, throwing it with all his might toward the alien. The can hits the alien squarely in the face. Meanwhile, the other guy regains some strength, leaps high, and strikes the alien's head. This blow causes the monster's health to drop to 15%. The boy coughs up more blood and gazes upward. The alien is about to strike him, but Jiang grabs it from behind. He moves in to finish it off. Biting the creature's neck, he reduces its health further. He tugs at its hair and mocks it, telling it to keep barking. Its health falls to 11%, and Jiang swears that it will no longer harm anyone. A strange orb materializes in the alien's chest. At first, the protagonist is confused but soon realizes this is the key to defeating it. Jiang strikes the orb with full force. A massive explosion erupts and the alien is destroyed. Its body vanishes, taking with it all the dark energy and chaos it had caused. Jiang begins to bleed, but he stands up, relieved. He sees that the other guy is also injured, sitting on the ground with the kids. Jiang is pleased that he's finally avenged his past. Suddenly, his vision starts to fade and he falls into total darkness. Jiang finds himself in a war-torn world. Dead bodies and injured people are scattered everywhere. The place is engulfed in flames and he wonders if this is the gathering point. He doesn't understand how he ended up here. He is surrounded by hundreds of aliens, all ready to attack. They all charge at him in unison and he yells out. The sun is high in the sky, but he's on the dark side of the world. Some are shouting in the light while others cry out from the shadows. Chaos reigns and people continue to die. Some are aware of the great impending death, while others remain oblivious. Just then, Jiang regains his sight and hears the young boy calling out to him, asking if he's still alive. Jiang realizes he is still alive and feels a wave of relief, understanding that everything he experienced before was only a dream. He cannot recall any events that occurred after he defeated the alien. He inspects the alien's body and discovers it feeds on shadows. The young boy asks if he is okay, noticing that he has been silent. Before Jiang can answer, he notices the boy is in a serious condition. Judging by his blood level, Jiang realizes the boy could still survive, as he has about 10% HP left. In the HP system, a human at 10% is considered nearly dead, with only a slim chance of making it through. The boy asks Jiang to help him lean against the wall. They both sit down, and the boy inquires whether Jiang is a night watchman. Jiang is taken aback that the boy doesn't recognize him, even though they live in the same building. He figures the boy probably hasn't seen him around enough, which explains why he doesn't know him. Jiang clarifies that he is not part of the night patrol. The boy comments that Jiang's fight against the First Order alien proves he isn't one. He laughs, adding that not all night patrol members are particularly strong. Jiang wonders why the boy doesn't thank him for saving his life. The boy smiles and praises him, saying he did well. He teases Jiang further, joking that he's never seen anyone defeat an alien using a soy sauce bottle, laughing and coughing intermittently. Jiang marvels at how upbeat the boy is despite his injuries and wonders if all night guards are so cheerful. The boy asks Jiang about his university study. He says he is enrolled at North Metro Academy and has just begun his sophomore year. Jiang lies to keep his personal details private. It turns out the boy also studies at the same university. He asks which department Jiang is in. Jiang seems confused, so he decides not to answer further questions. Moments later, the boy guesses that Jiang must be in the martial arts department, reasoning that liberal arts students couldn't handle first-level monsters. He keeps talking and asks Jiang for a cigarette. Jiang doesn't have one, so he offers biscuits instead. The boy takes them and calls Jiang stingy. Jiang explains he had plenty, but they were broken and scattered during the fight. He offers more if the boy wants, but the boy refuses to eat from the floor. A few minutes later, the boy asks if this is Jiang's first solo fight against an alien. Jiang confirms it. The boy admits he sometimes envies the martial arts and combat departments for their luck. He explains that he feels unlucky because of weak qualifications and willpower, unable to boost his power even with Yuan Wang pills that enhance combat ability. Jiang advises him to stop talking and save energy, as they need to wait for the rescue team to arrive. The boy says he just wants someone to converse with. He notes that civilians like him have very low willpower. No matter how strong they are physically, their hearts are fragile and cannot withstand corruption for long. Zhang asks if he regrets choosing martial arts. The boy clenches his fist, admitting he deeply regrets it. He works a clerical job, fishes around when idle, talks to girls, and trains new night patrolmen. He feels trapped in a whirlpool with no escape. He coughs, and Zhang warns him to be gentle on himself or he won't survive. The boy says he sent the rescue signal long ago and the team should have arrived by now. He worries about the kids lying on the ground. Zhang stands, but the boy warns that other alien species could attack, and he won't always be able to dodge them with his skill. He urges Zhang to sit and talk until help arrives. Zhang thinks to himself that the boy is better at teasing people than fighting aliens. Zhang listens as the boy recounts his past, boasting about how brave and fearless he once was. The boy smiles, telling Zhang that if he returns to university, he should apologize to the head of the Supernatural Technologies Department. He wants to apologize for failing to meet expectations, as he couldn't even kill a first-level monster in class. He also asks Zhang to thank Deputy Director Huang of the Academy of Supernatural Literature for her guidance. He admits her advice about humility in class is embarrassing, but emphasizes the importance of passing knowledge along and the survival of humanity. Zhang jokes that he should wait until he gets a notebook or return later to hear the full explanation in person. The boy wants Zhang to apologize for not meeting expectations since he couldn't even defeat a first-level class monster. He also asks him to thank Deputy Director Huang for her guidance in the Academy of Supernatural Literature. He admits her advice about not being arrogant is awkward, but stresses her teachings on passing the torch in human survival. Zhang jokingly says he should wait until he has a notebook or return later to have the boy explain everything himself. The man exhales deeply, revealing that he has been keeping these thoughts inside for quite some time and simply needs someone to listen. He mentions how nice it would be to revisit Northern Watch Academy. Then he asks if Jiang has any more of those cookies, clearly enjoying them a lot. Zhang remarks that his taste is quite peculiar, adding that it's impossible to find spicy stick-flavored cookies anywhere. The man smiles and tells him to forget about it. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes, and the man notes that the night patrol has arrived. Zhang feels a sense of relief, knowing that they can now assist the man. He grabs his package and gets ready to leave, but the man asks if he'd like to accompany him. Zhang declines, saying he'll go there alone. The man smiles, wishing him a safe journey. Zhang thanks him and starts walking away. Just as he's about to leave, he looks back and sees the night patrol officers coming toward him. The officers report they've found a night patrol member and 2 children, checking the vital signs. The man's blood level is still at 10%. One officer looks at his partner and shakes his head. Zhang watches as the man's health declines quickly, wondering why this is happening. With modern medicine, they could have saved him. As he teleports back, he sees the officer pause to salute the man. He reaches out, but it's too late. The man's health has already hit 0. Yet there's a smile on the man's face. Zhang calls out, asking them to wait, but he's already teleported back to the street. People around him are confused about what just occurred. Some assume the man was an actor. A screen shows a broadcast from the night patrol, reminding special individuals to never give up. Even in their last moments, if they sense survival is unlikely, they should take a pill with caution, understanding the risks involved. There's a 90% chance of death after taking it. Even if they survive, their life expectancy will be drastically reduced. The pill, Compound No. 3, is the same one the man took to defeat the monster and rescue the children. The broadcast continues, urging them to remember the fallen and keep moving forward until all threats are vanquished. They must patrol both the skies and the earth, protecting everyone day and night, hoping for a brighter future. Night patrol must confront the unknown and battle the inexplicable. Later, Zhang rides the elevator, still dressed in blood-stained clothes. He wonders if that man truly died. The man had kept joking throughout their conversation, but in the end, all he wanted was someone to talk to before passing. No flowers, no applause, he simply vanished like any ordinary person. Zhang reflects that no matter how ordinary the man seemed, he'll always remember him. Exhausted, he decides to shower and go straight to bed. He notices his health bar at 55%, but he feels too weak to stand. This surprises him, as he had thought his health was only at 20%. He recalls the man being at 10%, yet still acting as though nothing had happened. It seems physical training alone isn't enough. Willpower is just as crucial. Suddenly, a loud voice interrupts his thoughts, his girlfriend lounging on the couch. She asks about the eggs. The phone isn't working and she can't reach anyone, so she wonders if he brought the eggs she requested. Zhang turns away, attempting to hide his blood-stained clothes, mentioning that New Year is approaching. Due to that, the stores are crowded with long lines of people. He then asks how she got into his house. She explains that since he orders takeout every day, Uncle Lee asked her to take care of him. He gave her the key. She spots his bloody clothes and asks what happened. Was he in some kind of fight? Zhang insists it's late and suggests she go home before Uncle Lee gets the wrong idea again. But she grabs his arm and forces him to turn around. He tries to brush her off, saying he's just hungry. and wants to cook some instant noodles through the holes in his clothes. She sees his injuries and gasps. She asks him how he got hurt so badly. Zhang awkwardly says he forgot to buy egg. He explains that he witnessed a robbery on his way home, so he intervened and fought the criminal. He mentions that he beat the guy badly, so she doesn't need to worry about him. Later, when the police arrive, they found the attacker in such a mangled state that he was barely recognizable. His girlfriend seems unconvinced, so he demonstrates his quick reflexes and does some shadow boxing for her. He keeps talking, claiming that he beat the man so severely that even his own mother wouldn't recognize him. As he speaks, Yao Yao gently touches the marks on his face. He suddenly realizes there's no way she would believe anything he's just said. Yao Yao inquires if he's in pain, but Zhang just sighs and mentions he only wants to sleep. She insists on telling Uncle Li everything since he had been fighting with people at night. Jane quickly dismisses the idea, claiming it wasn't a fight but rather a matter of him standing up for what's right. But she's not convinced. Too tired to continue, Zhang collapses onto the floor, admitting he's too exhausted to move. Yao Yao scowls, suggesting he should go to the hospital, but he brushes her off, saying he has everything he needs at home. He even goes as far as to claim his home remedies are better than any treatment a hospital could offer. She raises an eyebrow and asks if he just wants her to apply medicine for him. Smiling, he teases her by calling her Dr. Liu and asks her to patch him up. As soon as she begins, he yells in agony, pleading for her to give him medicine instead of wrapping him up like a mummy. Irritated, she slaps his shoulder and asks if he plans to do this again. He quickly assures her it won't happen again, but refuses to make an oath. Yao Yao clenches her fist, threatening him, but Jiang nervously chuckles and says that fighting is just part of human nature. He tells her that if it's such a big deal to her, he'll just watch from the sidelines next time. Upon hearing this, she gets ready to punch him and asks him to repeat what he just said. He repeats his words, promising to stay out of trouble and watch from the sidelines next time. With that, Yao Yao turns to leave. As she walks away, Jiang calls after her, suggesting she stay the night since he has a big bed. She sticks her tongue out at him and slams the door as she leaves. Lying down, he tries to rest, but his mind keeps drifting back to the man he met in the shadow world. The man had asked him to deliver a message to guard the Northern Watch Academy. After a brief pause, Jiang suddenly sits up in shock, realizing he never asked the man for his name. At that moment, the system alerts him about the creature he killed in the shadow world. It is part of the ghost species and is at the first level. The creature hails from the lower abyss and is deeply tied to shadows and darkness. The system warns that anyone marked by this entity will be susceptible to hidden attacks. Zhang managed to kill the creature despite suffering an arm fracture. He receives shadow points for the kill. He wonders whether his kills will be recorded, or if he needs to absorb the shadows using his shadow devour skill for them to be documented. Suddenly, he notices a system window about his new skill. The system explains that his newly acquired skill, Shadow Assault, is an invisible attack that enemies cannot detect, with the first strike causing massive damage. Intrigued, Zhang stands in the middle of the room and speaks the skill's name aloud. However, nothing occurs. He frowns, uncertain whether the system is malfunctioning or if he simply hasn't chosen a target. Either way, he decides to test it later. Opening his character info, he reads through the details. His name is Jiang, his attribute is Shadow, and he has earned 14 Shadow points. He has now become a rogue, a class focused on striking from the shadows. His abilities include Shadow Devour, Shadow Eyes, and Shadow Form. Zhang reviews the descriptions and wonders how the system even came up with these game mechanics. Just then, the system notifies him that his shadow has transformed. He now has full control over it and can even merge with it to take on a unique form. Jiang narrows his eyes, pondering if this is another new skill. The system confirms that the shadow form is now available. By training in this form, he can grow stronger. His aura will meld with the darkness, making him nearly invisible, while he can use shadow form outside the shadow realm. It will deplete his shadow points. This form lacks any vital body parts, meaning even if his head is severed, he won't die, but his health will drop dramatically. Zhang is shocked after reading all this. That last power seems almost too good to be true. But then he notices a catch. If he gets decapitated, his health will fall to 1% instead of death. In other words, he just got tricked. He shouts in frustration, thinking it would be better to die outright than face a slow, lingering death. Still, it's a handy skill, so he decides to test it out. Summoning his shadow, Jiang raises a finger. Instantly, the shadow beneath him mirrors his action. His hand touches the shadow, and it immediately spreads across his body, enveloping him completely. As he surveys his new form, he wonders if this truly is his body. It feels strange, yet intriguing. He sighs before suddenly darting off. He speeds across the room in a flash, sending objects flying in his wake. He realizes just how fast he's become and feels a rush of exhilaration. Testing his power, he effortlessly lifts the bed, raising and lowering it without effort. To push his limits even more, he picks up a 100-kilo hammer and smashes it into his face. The blow has no effect. His body remains unharmed. Laughing in excitement, he realizes the extent of his new form's power. A voice from below interrupts, shouting at him to stop making noise. He's pleased with his shadow form and returns to normal. Opening the system menu, something catches his eye. He spots an option that can be activated. Curious, he taps it to learn more. The description reveals that he has gained partial authority over his class, but it hasn't been fully awakened yet. Once activated, this will become a class-exclusive ability, and no one else will be able to unlock it. However, it also mentions potential risks associated with the activation. Jiang hesitates. The word risk is highlighted in red, making him pause. But another message appears, reminding him that risks can often lead to great rewards. After a moment of thought, he selects yes. The moment he confirms, dark energy emerges from the system window and begins to move toward him. His confidence fades into panic. Before he can react, the dark substance envelops him, forming a cocoon around his body. A medicine bottle slips from his hand and crashes to the ground. The lights in his apartment flicker as a single drop of medicine falls. The system displays a new message declaring his status as a hunter. Another notification appears, warning that if he fails at hunting, he will perish. He is a born hunter and his attacks will cause greater damage. More system notifications follow. The first notes that weapons like guns, bows, and poisons won't benefit from the extra damage. The second advises that secrecy is key. His reputation as a killer will shape his success. The third note is ominous. Even gods cannot escape. Hong examines his hands, contemplating what he's just read. At the same time, another notification appears, stating that activating shadow form greatly boosts his ability to kill. He will need less blood to maintain his strength, and when an enemy's health drops enough, he can perform an instant decapitation. When the threshold is crossed, the target's health bar will turn red and he will be able to see the fatal spot. By striking this spot, he can trigger the execution and eliminate the target. The system further clarifies that his decapitation skill depends on factors like blood level, strength, and the opponent's capabilities. This makes him recall his last battle. Was this the same ability that activated when he defeated his previous foe? The thought lingers as he processes the new information. With absolute damage and execution skills combined, he feels nearly invincible. With these powers, victory seems inevitable. He raises his hand in triumph, but then something feels off. He recalls the system mentioning something about potential dangers. Jane hastily removes the bandages from his body, anticipating visible injury. To her surprise, his skin appears completely intact. Confusion floods his mind. He expected to see his wounds still present, but even the deepest cuts have vanished. This kind of healing isn't possible through normal medicine. A thought begins to form. His rapid recovery must be connected to his shadow form. The following day, Yao Yao's friend asks if she witnessed Jiang's fight and questions if the claims are true. The screen shows his profile with a selfie, claiming he endured 88 hits in a fight, yet the image clearly shows no sign of injury. She tells her friend that Jiang messaged her, saying he encountered human traffickers. He was wielding a watermelon knife, fighting across the street without flinching once. Her friend, still staring at the phone, wonders if Jiang got hurt and suggests checking on him. Yao Yao listens quietly before shaking her head. She then reassures them there's no need to worry. Jiang wasn't in a fight. The only thing that happened yesterday was him being chased by a dog. She believes he's just exaggerating to impress everyone. The three of them finally arrive at his home, and she invites them to go inside to see for themselves. As she tries to unlock the door, her friends ask how she got the keys. She hesitates for a moment before quickly explaining that Uncle Lee gave them to her. She opens the door, expecting to find him wrapped in bandages. But to her surprise, he's sitting on the floor, grimacing in pain. She rushes to him and asks why he removed the bandages. Hong explains that he took them off, believing the wound was healed. The friends now realize he wasn't just bragging and that he was telling the truth. They admire his physique and start feeling his muscles. But Yao Yao pushes them out of the room, telling them to wait in the living room. Both friends are now convinced that Jiang and Yao Yao are a couple. Yao Yao begins applying some ointment to his wound, making Zhang flinch in discomfort. He tells him to stop complaining since she knows this medicine well. It doesn't sting, but her man completely ignores her and keeps staring at her leg. Noticing this, she warns him that she'll let Xiao Pang apply the ointment instead. Zhang immediately refuses, claiming the guy is too clumsy. She pinches his cheeks a bit too roughly and teases that Uncle Lee hasn't been taking care of him properly. She asks what really happened yesterday, as she doesn't believe the story he gave her about a robbery. He replies that he's a man of justice and always stands up for what's right, but his girlfriend remains skeptical of everything he said. He wonders how to convince her since killing a mutant in the Shadow Lair and chatting with a dying night patrol officer sounds even crazier. He brings up her father and asks if he returned yesterday. She responds that he didn't and asks why he's asking. Zhang lowers his gaze with a worried look and explains that being a night patrol officer is very challenging. They work both day and night, which is incredibly dangerous. Yao Yao listens silently as she absorbs his words. He observes her and thinks that she must be anxious about her father. Being a night patrol officer is no easy task. Uncle Li lost an arm while working, and the person he met in the shadow lair died young at the age of 20. Even someone as strong as her father has been seriously hurt, which means his future progress is likely limited. Yao Yao looks at him and asks if he plans to join the night patrol after passing the martial arts exam. He pauses for a moment and admits he's unsure. Then, he jokingly asks her if there will be any attractive girls on the night patrol, causing her to get annoyed. Meanwhile, the two friends try to eavesdrop on their conversation from outside. They wonder what could be happening inside. Eventually, the two friends enter. Zhang asks how they got in, and they explain they just wanted to check on him. They assure him not to worry and ask him to sit down. As they sit, Jiang starts telling them an exaggerated story. His girlfriend believes he's simply trying to show off again. She says she's heading to the supermarket and asks if she should throw out his old clothes, which are torn, while not even looking at him. He tells her to dispose of them and continues with his fabricated tale. But suddenly, he has a realization and jumps up towards Yao Yao, urgently telling her to wait and mentioning something else in his clothes. In a comedic moment, a bag of sanitary pads falls out of his shirt. Yao Yao looks at it with a puzzled expression, asking him why he brought it with him. Zhang nervously scratches his head and explains that he picked it up at the supermarket yesterday because she had mentioned her stomach pain. Meanwhile, one of her friends snaps a photo of the moment to share with everyone in class. Zhang hands the bag to her and asks if she needs anything more. Irritated, she hurls it back at him, insisting she doesn't want anything. He looks puzzled and asks why she's suddenly upset. Their friends shrug it off as a typical couple quarrel and decide to leave. Once everyone departs, Zhang is free to practice. He merges with his shadow and prepares for a challenging exercise. John becomes engulfed in a dark substance, entering the shadow realm through his shadow. Even though the environment is polluted, he feels surprisingly at ease. It's akin to someone used to industrial smog, suddenly stepping onto open, clean plain. Though his health is only at 60%, all his pain has vanished, and his vitality is regenerating rapidly. Bright energy flows from him as he begins his training. He feels limitless strength and quickly starts hundreds of push-ups. The system notes that his dark form has entered the shadow layer, awarding shadow points that boost his power. Each push-up strengthens him further. After completing 1,000 push-ups, he steps outside. The world beyond appears eerily deserted. He imagines having countless disciples if he were this powerful in reality, then begins performing one-arm bar exercise. Meanwhile, at the night patrol headquarters, an important briefing is about to start. Executive Lu sits as a staff member, presents a report on darkness fluctuations, noting the wide range of variation. The oscillations are irregular, pollution is spreading further, and some squads have identified similar anomalies elsewhere. Another team member continues the briefing. She reports that these fluctuations are now concentrated in residential areas more than before. Previously, the anomalies were scattered randomly, making this pattern unusual. The report notes a rise in abnormal activity over the past few days. 4 cases occurred where individuals were dragged into the shadow layer. Though rare, it's uncertain whether such incidents will become more frequent. Abyssal fissures are considered more hazardous than typical shadow layer disturbances. Compared to the shadow layer's beasts, the abyssal fissures are far more deadly. Even Godzilla could emerge from them. Uncle Lee, who had been silent, suddenly joins the discussion. He dismisses the concerns as mere speculation, noting that they've been preparing for battle for a long time. Everyone, including Executive Lu, glares at him, so he instructs them to continue with the report. The briefing continues, listing night guards who recently lost their lives. When the meeting concludes, Lu stands before a large glass window. He pulls out a cigarette, wondering why these anomalies always happen around the new year, then searches for a lighter. While looking, he realizes his daughter swapped his cigarettes for cookies again. Someone tosses a pack of cigarettes toward him, which he blocks. Lee remarks that Lu shouldn't always look so serious. Lee offers a cigarette, but Lu declines, citing fear of lung cancer. Lee teases him, and Lu warns him to speak up if he came late just to ask something. Lee informs him that a new notice has been issued from higher up. Lu asks about the notice's content, his expression tense. After hearing, he becomes visibly anxious. He asks Lee if the notice is confirmed. Lee replies that Lu should have it on his computer too. Lu powers on his computer. Lee inquires if he has decided on his daughter's career path. He asks whether she will pursue extraordinary supernatural sciences or the humanities. Lu hasn't decided yet. He plans to wait for the abilities test. The emergency notice states that candidates with 2nd grade or higher in exceptional supernatural ability must, barring exceptional cases, take the test and select their specialized ability. The executive questions Lee about Jiang's future plans, doubting Jiang's honesty. He wonders which supernatural field Jiang will choose, and Li responds that he likely won't pick any of them. The executive is taken aback and inquires whether he intends to make him focus on studying rare human sciences. Li responds that he expects him to study the regular human sciences. Lu laughs, thinking it's a joke since his abilities haven't even been assessed. After passing the test, he will have to focus on the exceptional human sciences. Li rises and explains that he doesn't even want him to take the test to begin with. He walks out for a walk, leaving Lu to handle the official business. A girl with pink hair enters carrying a stack of documents. She enters and apologizes for the interruption. Lu doesn't mind and asks what brings her to his office. She presents a notice received from the shadow layer about a new and unusual creature. The creature is described as a disciplined shadow that engages in intense physical training. It is black and resembles a shadow. The report states that it was first spotted in the garden of the Xinyu Residential Center, possibly having wandered into the area by accident. It shows an interest in physical exercise and uses training tools. Additionally, it has low aggression. The report mentions that the creature greets those who approach it. The risk assessment is low, with no confirmed kill record. The pink-haired secretary informs the executive that the monitoring team has observed this unusual being near the residential area. There are no records on it in the database, so she seeks his opinion. Lu admits he's never encountered such a creature before. The scene transitions to the shadow layer, where Jiang is filming a spider. He informs everyone that spider meat contains more protein than the same amount of rice. He adds that it's tender and tasty. The meat is easy to grill on its surface, and after a bite it doesn't taste like beef or lamb but distinctly like spider. He posts the video and expresses regret for not realizing people were interested in the scenery of the shadow layer. Now he knows and believes it won't be long before he becomes an internet sensation. After sharing his video, he discovers that many others are already making content about exceptional ability. It strikes him as odd since he wasn't allowed to share such content before. Suddenly he gets a notification saying he must go hunting or he will perish. John panics and swats at the notification. He soon learns his remaining lifespan is only 100 hours. Anxiety sets in as he realizes his time is running out. Jiang is confused about why the system would send him this alert. He recalls that activating class abilities involves certain risks. It could be the risk associated with unlocking the assassin class. He steadies himself and searches for a way to escape the predicament. The notification explains that, as a hunter, he must keep hunting to extend his life. He realizes that as long as he continues hunting, he can remain mortal. The message also states that even if his physical body disappears, a different form of existence will persist. He doesn't fully understand what this means, nor why the notification suggests he'll be happy once he wakes up here. He decides to consult Uncle Li for assistance if he fails to kill a strange creature. He eyes the spider and knows it must be eliminated first to gain more time. He also plans to record the event, believing it will help him gain fame. He positions his phone to film everything. He's not worried about being caught, as his account is anonymous, provided by the Night Patrol Bureau. He merges with his shadow and begins the live stream. He has several monkey coins and intends to verify their legitimacy. He greets his followers and introduces himself while streaming live. He mentions that he's encountered a bizarre creature. His followers start to comment eagerly as they see him with the spider. He warns them to stay quiet as he cautiously approaches it. He remains silent as the spider is resting. He pulls out the iron rod that he purchased at a high cost. The spider soon awakens but fails to notice Zhang due to his shadow form. Zhang prepares to use his execution skill and locate its weak spot. He spots its vulnerability and decides to deliver the finishing blow. The scene shifts to 30 minutes earlier, where the spider is alive and just arrived in this world. It finds the world's environment quite enjoyable. There's no abyss-like pressure or dangerous creatures. The spider sees itself as weak and aims to be cautious. It recalls a recent battle with another member of its species. The spider got hurt in the skirmish but was able to have a good meal. It plans to rest for a while to recover. As it sleeps, it's disturbed by a boy and realizes he's planning an attack. However, the strange thing is that it can't see the boy. It decides to move to a different spot, feeling this one isn't safe. Meanwhile, Zhang strikes it with the iron rod and feels shadow points leaking from his body. He learns that he must be hit at specific points to unleash his full power. The spider is left with only 40% of its health after much of its energy has been drained. Blood has been spilled. Zhang aims for another strike, but before he can act, the spider attacks him. Surprisingly, he feels no pain. The spider bleeds heavily, and Jinog notices it's due to his precise hit on a vulnerable spot. He then unleashes his shadow attack, marveling at how it slips into the darkness like a sneaky thief. He understands that confronting the spider head-on isn't necessary. He can simply wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. He readies himself for the final attack and the chase between hunter and prey. The scene shifts to a girl holding her phone, watching a broadcast where a man announces the night patrol protecting the city. He greets the viewers, mentioning that he is on duty tonight. His focus is on the structure of lower-level others. The girl scrolls through her feed and moves on to the next live stream. In it, a green-haired girl appears. She waves hello and talks about visiting a small alley restaurant. The girl kicks her legs playfully before scrolling to another broadcast. A man confesses he's been busy recently. Another girl explains she's helping her family. On a bed lie a jacket, underwear, and a magazine. Another streamer shares that her lighter is like family to her. Losing it would be disastrous. The white-haired girl watching grows bored, complaining that nothing interesting has occurred lately. Suddenly, something catches her attention. She watches Jiang's broadcast where he introduces himself as Yu from the northern capital. Strange creatures soar across the sky on the screen. A monster jumps from rooftop to rooftop. She sits upright, startled, thrilled, and wonders if these monsters are real or just CGI. Streaming from Allies U, the boy points to the creature behind him, a shadow spider. It's an ancient first-rank ghost, the weakest type of other. Comments pour in, some admire his appearance. Viewers call him handsome and cool, while others complain about their own troubles. One girl wishes she had money to buy him gifts. Ignoring the chatter, Yu explains that the shackles on the spider emit terrifying sounds that ordinary humans shouldn't hear. The white-haired girl frowns at the comments, annoyed, calling the commenters fools and criticizing their rude online behavior. She wishes their parents could see what they post. Then she pauses and quickly starts typing her own comment. Yu melds into shadow, disappearing into the darkness. The girl is stunned, wondering if he might be extraordinary. This makes her smile, realizing the action is getting thrilling. Yuri appears behind the spider, hurling a metal rod at it. The monster screeches in pain and rises onto its hind legs. A red beam erupts from the ground, striking the spider, which stumbles from the sudden attack. Yu lightly touches the creature, and as it turns angrily, he grins, announcing, "I'm here." The spider lunges at him. He evades each strike with ease, mocking it for being unable to land a hit despite having 8 legs. Under a blanket, the white-haired girl excitedly comments on how fast and striking Yu is. Suddenly, the spider unleashes a massive purple beam coating the ground with corrosive acid. It laughs, believing Yu is trapped. Then Yu's voice rings from above. He asks if the spider truly thinks he's helpless just because the acid covers the ground. The monster looks up to see him on a rooftop. Yu declares that shadows exist everywhere and leaps down. The spider tries to attack with acid. Yu moves through it effortlessly, even phasing through structures. He proclaims himself a shadow hunter, gripping his metal rod. He admits that countless killings have clouded his memory. He only remembers his name. Suddenly, he drives the rod into the spider's head. The creature groans and he continues attacking, declaring himself Yu. He presses his hand onto the defeated spider and uses his shadow-swallowing skill to absorb its darkness. Black energy engulfs the spider, transferring it to Yu. White ribbons wrap around him, forming a flowing cloak. He senses the hunt has ended. Viewers are left astonished. It feels like watching a superhero film with some even smitten. The girl hugs her phone in excitement. She hasn't experienced anything this thrilling in ages. She quickly checks his profile. His name appears as Killer Yu. He has 722,000 likes and 89,000 followers. She decides she must get his attention. She taps follow, hoping to reach him. Then she messages, asking if she can add a star to the high-reward assassination mission. Meanwhile, the system provides details about the shadow spider. It's a first-level, mid-ranked creature from an ancient demon lineage. Its body patterns reflect its strength. More intricate markings indicate greater corruption. Staring at it too long is hazardous. The spider possesses an acid web and an ancient demonic curse. Killing it causes a disruption in sensory perception due to shadow bite. Yu gains 2 things, the ability to create a shadow web and the shadow points from the creature. Still, he feels let down. This creature was only a middle-tier first level. He expected it to be stronger. In truth, there was a significant gap in power, and he only prevailed by using the shadow attack. Yu checks his phone and sees 1.5 million viewers. He smiles. So many people are watching him now. Laughing, he ends the stream. He says that it's enough for today. He wants to leave them wanting more. Suddenly, a black thread wraps around his arm. Confused, he realizes it's the shadow net ability. He tests it by shooting the web at a building and is pulled into the air. At first, he panics but soon starts laughing. He's basically Spider-Man now. But his fun is short-lived. He crashes into a wall and falls, landing on a streetlight. Groaning, he understands that he needs more practice. A message pops up in front of him, saying his life has been extended by just 3 days. This brings his total to 7. He frowns. It's less than he hoped for. Even with 7 days remaining, finding more creatures won't be easy. He realizes he'll need more help. Just then, another system notification appears. It's the 3rd reminder, stating that a hunter must remain in the shadows. The more concealed he stays, the higher his reputation will rise. The system informs him that his rising reputation will unlock new hunter ability. He can now mark a target, making it easier to identify weak points. The system explains he can mark enemies based on their fear and other negative emotions. However, the mark lasts only 1 second. As his reputation grows, this duration will increase. Each mark drains energy and reveals his location, so he must use it wisely. Additionally, when targeting a marked enemy, he gains enhanced agility and strength. If he successfully defeats them, one of his stats or abilities improves, unlike marking. Hunting doesn't consume energy, but since the hunt is linked to the mark's duration, he must eliminate his target quickly during the hunting period to boost his negative reputation or status. After reading the message, he rubs his head, trying to understand it. He wonders if the authority has been unlocked and when the person gained fame. Looking at the viewer count, he guesses the sudden attention might be because of the live broadcast. If that's the case, he decides to hunt more, gain extra followers, and learn new abilities. With this plan, he believes both his power and skill will improve. Determined to go further, he resolves to put in more effort today. Suddenly, he notices a red mark and begins wondering what it signifies. As he looks around, he spots a huge purple monster with spiked armor standing behind one of the buildings. Overcome with excitement, he exclaims with joy, realizing he's found it. Without a second thought, he leaps off the streetlight and hits the ground. The hunt begins. His grin grows wider, taking on a slightly manic look. The scene shifts to an apartment building, where he receives a hard punch to the face. The force of the strike causes him to jump back, clutch his cheek, and cry out in pain. The blow comes from Yao Yao, who stands above him, demanding to know what's happening and who he's been fighting now. Without waiting for an answer, she pulls out some disinfectant and dabs a cotton ball on his injury. He tries to calm her down, claiming he's on his way to becoming a hero, one she wouldn't understand. She asks if he knows any hero who gets injured every single day. She tells him that he's just trying to show off without having any real abilities. Without giving him a chance to respond, she stuffs cotton up his nose. She warns him not to get involved with such things unless he has the necessary skill. He grits his teeth in frustration but turns away. Confidently, he tells her he can heal himself in seconds with his shadow form. He clarifies that he hadn't used it so she could help him. Her expression changes to curiosity as she asks what he means by that. He tries to change the subject by grabbing a water bottle and suggesting they watch a movie. She casually replies that there's nothing interesting to watch. As she picks up her phone and browses movie titles, she mentions that a certain YouTuber has recently become quite popular. Her face turns red with embarrassment as she brings it up. Noticing her reaction, he asks about the YouTuber. Without responding directly, she holds up her phone and motions for him to look at the screen. He is taken aback as he sees his own shadow introducing itself as Yu, an assassin from the shadows suffering from memory loss. The sight stuns him, causing him to cough and choke on his water. Worried, she asks if he's all right, seemingly surprised by his shock. He tries to recover, quickly assuring her that nothing's wrong, before nervously asking if she's been keeping up with it. She eagerly replies that she's been following it for 2 whole days. The blogger has rapidly gained attention and is now one of the most intriguing and unconventional figures online. He feels uneasy, scratching his head, and asks if that's really true. Although the idea excites him, he wonders whether such open exposure could lead to legal complications. Realizing the speed of attention he's gained, he grows anxious about being caught by the night patrol. Sensing his tension, she advises him to stay quiet about what he knows. She reassures him that his current situation won't affect public opinion much, so there's no need to worry. Instead, she suggests watching a real fight with some mutants. She grabs his hand and leans in closer, eagerly asking if he thinks the blogger is cool. She urges him to take inspiration from him. He stays quiet, feeling a bit awkward, and keeps his focus on the phone screen. She continues pushing, suggesting he watch another video. She mentions that another blogger has already begun analyzing his footage. Seeing her excitement, he gives a faint smile. Suddenly, she turns to him and asks if he thinks she could also become famous. He avoids eye contact and jokes about whether she plans to film herself dancing in a JKT outside, in the shadow layer. She tells him to go away, saying she could just record videos about the supernatural. He asks if she seriously thinks she can rival the seasoned veterans of the night patrol by simply reading some article. He adds that if she goes outside dressed like that, stalkers will track her immediately. She scowls and glares at him in response. He points at her and says that he's lost her once again. She looks confused and asks what he means. Before he can answer, she suddenly appears behind him. Pressing a gun to his back, she sternly asks if he's been hurt while following someone. Startled, he raises his hands in surrender and urgently tells her he was only joking. Unconvinced, she pushes him with the gun and demands to know how she's supposed to believe he's telling the truth. He tries to de-escalate the situation, addressing her as an officer and begging for a break, but she firmly refuses. She orders him to get up and cook. Weary, he collapses on the couch and checks his messages. Finally, she leaves, just as he starts to relax. He notices a surge of new messages asking about his identity and why his videos are being posted. Some wonder if he's connected to the night patrol or if the whole thing is staged. Others ask for more photos or if the footage is altered. Amidst the flurry of messages, he sees some people talking about him and saying a person named Real has just exposed him. Curious, he heads over to his channel. He clicks on the link and unexpectedly sees an elderly man streaming on his channel. The man greets the audience and informs them that they're not going to be exploring shops today. Instead, they're tackling a scam artist. He asks his viewers if they think the video is authentic. He explains they'll watch the video first, then break it down frame by frame on a computer. It's the same video of Zhang battling the spider. The elderly man pauses the video at a particular frame and asks the audience if they notice the inconsistency between both frames. This reveals that the video has been edited. He then points out the background and mentions that it's also been altered to conceal the unrealistic parts. Zhang is puzzled, as this man is supposed to be a food blogger who travels to various restaurants for reviews. He wonders why the man is trying to ride on his newfound fame. He only removed a few awkward moments from the video, and now he's being criticized for it. The man explains his reasons for reviewing the video. He flips his phone around and shows them the verified tag on his profile. He asserts that he's part of the night patrol and has once eliminated countless monsters. Because of this, they can immediately spot a fake. However, the conversation soon shifts to another topic. Zhang taps the comment button on his phone and watches as users flood the chat with messages. Some are doubtful about the footage, questioning how something like the shadow layer could be fabricated. Others are puzzled as to why the video needs editing if it's authentic. Was the entire story false from the start? Some refuse to outright call the video fake, while others highlight issues with specific objects. One commenter says they trust the night patrol more. Zhang smirks, thinking they're all clueless and fail to understand anything. He is convinced that eventually they will discover the truth. Rising from the couch, he stretches and comments that if the video is fake, then it's time to hunt down others. But first, he needs to teach the old blogger a lesson. He decides to return to the Shadow Realm. He starts considering all the titles for his new video. After being transported to the Shadow Realm, he pulls out a mini camera and attaches it to his jacket. He observes that the number of creatures appears fewer compared to yesterday. It seems the shadow layer resets itself at time. Suddenly, something grabs his attention and he questions what's going on. He detects a level 6 creature preparing to ambush other mutants. Gripping his club tightly, he smirks, eager to witness the abilities of a 6th-rank creature. The chase begins. He steps aside, standing at the edge of a building's rooftop, but then halts. He lets out a faint sigh, shivers slightly, and chooses to go down the stairs. He reminds himself to stay composed and avoid any quick moves. A skilled assassin like him shouldn't rush. He's a unique type of hunter. As he descends the stairs, the creature he noticed earlier emerges from the wall. Letting out a loud roar, he halts and marks his target. This creates a magic circle in front of the monster, making it cautious immediately. Watching this unfold, he feels everything is going according to plan. The target will soon experience an intense, inexplicable fear. He realizes that the monster looks very similar to one he's faced before, one with deadly blades. He wonders if it's evolved, but he shrugs it off, noting that he's undergone a similar transformation himself. Without a second thought, he activates the 6 staff technique, wielding his blade and striking the monster's stomach. The creature's blood level drops to 45% and he immediately becomes alert. He retreats a step, leaps high, and begins the hunt. The system notifies him that the mark and hunt abilities are active, temporarily boosting his strength and agility for 1 second. If he defeats the target within this window, he'll earn additional rewards. He strikes the monster again, but it dodges, causing him to hit the building behind it. A bright light flashes around them. He glances back in surprise, seeing the monster unharmed. Shocked, he pushes off the wall and continues his pursuit. At last, he lands right in front of the creature, which screeches loudly. It swings its limbs wildly, trying to intimidate him. He hesitates for a moment, but then the monster opens its mouth, emitting a strange sound. Zhang feels a dizzy spell and wonders if the mutant is attacking his mind. The monster suddenly slashes him and he fails to block. He clears his throat, lands nearby, and stares at his hand. He realizes the creature is powerful. His blood level has dropped to under 66%, losing 34% from a single blow. As the monster charges again, he quickly realizes its strikes are immensely strong. He knows he must think of a strategy. The mutant attacks, but he evades each strike and mocks it. The battle intensifies, filling the air with loud, resounding noises. The monster continues pressing forward until it suddenly stops right in front of him. It sends strange limbs from its mouth, but Zhang is nowhere to be found. While the creature searches in confusion, our hero seizes the opportunity. He charges and calls the monster a fool for falling for his trap. He reflects that despite the creature's evolution, its abilities remain unchanged. This is still his domain, and today, the monster will not prevail. With that in mind, he launches a series of attacks, striking the monster repeatedly. It roars in pain, but he stays unaffected. He offers no chance for retaliation and continues to press the attack, gradually cracking the mutant's face with each blow. He jumps into the air, poised to deliver the finishing strike, but pauses. Shocked, He gazes at the mutant's face as he notices the night patrolman staring back. Unable to believe his eyes, he realizes that the man in front of him had been taken by the night patrolman. He wonders why the creature has transformed in this way. The monster growls loudly, snapping him out of his stupor. Feeling unsettled, he quickly steps back without hesitation. The creature turns and runs in the opposite direction. Jing instinctively shouts for it to stop and immediately gives chase. He insists that all he wants is a conversation. After running for a while, he gradually slows down. Panting heavily, his mind races as he tries to comprehend what just took place. The system's voice resounds in his mind, informing him that he has successfully tracked his target. Still on his feet, he reads a new system update stating that his hunt was nearly successful. However, the prey vanished at the final moment, causing the mission to fail. The system cautions him that repeated failures will weaken him and reduce his lifespan. Deep down, he knows that only by constantly hunting will he grow stronger. This is the only way he can gain control and defy death itself. But in that instant, he begins to question the purpose of life. He wonders whether it's just about hunting or if there's something greater. He stays silent as the system repeats its warning, urging him to accept death's inevitability. Constant reminders only frustrate him further. He slams his fist against the system interface in frustration, demanding silence. His irritation builds as the system keeps repeating itself. Finally, he loses his temper and shouts for it to stop tormenting him. His thoughts drift to the idea of heroes, those who sacrifice their lives for others. He wonders if they all end up like this. Lowering his hand from his face, he catches a glimpse of his reflection and briefly wonders if dying would turn him into a monster too. At that moment, a surge of magical energy envelops him, surrounding his body in a mysterious light. Clenching his fist, he makes a resolute decision. There's no turning back now. He must continue the hunt. He has now reached the Cloud Sea gathering spot in East Zone 1. He glances at his phone before looking up at the sky. He recalls news reports mentioning that anomalies often gather in this region, so there's no need for concern. As he speaks, shadowy blue sparks and dark energy swirl around him. A black hole materializes above a nearby building, and he steps into it, instantly reappearing on the rooftop. As he surveys the area, he quickly realizes that the number of anomalies is much higher than expected. However, they seem too cautious to venture outside the building. A sudden sound draws his attention. He turns toward the noise. There, on the opposite rooftop, he spots a creature glowing in a vivid purple light. He observes it closely and realizes that it's an extraordinarily powerful monster. However, its leg is severely injured. This injury is causing its health to rapidly decline, and he sees an opportunity. He tells himself that he will not retreat. Emerging from the shadows, he approaches the creature. The monster notices him right away and retaliates by launching several magical energy orbs in his direction. Before they can reach him, he quickly disappears and reappears within a thick cloud of dust in just 3 minutes. He soon realizes that the monsters in this area are far more alert than the ones he's encountered before. This particular creature seems exceptionally aware. As he watches closely, he notices the red spots on its body gradually fading. He wonders if it's due to its heightened sensitivity, but quickly dismisses the thought. Instead, he decides that he needs to find a way to keep the creature distracted. As it shifts position, he senses a chance to strike. Feeling that the time has come, he focuses his gaze and activates his ability. A glowing magic circle forms around his eye as he locks his focus on the monster with increasing intensity. Meanwhile, back at her home, Yao Yao is preparing a meal. Her back to the door. When the door opens, she assumes it's Jiang and without turning around tells him he's late and asks where he's been. But when she looks back, she's surprised to find her father and Uncle Li standing in the house. Yao Yao is startled by their sudden presence and her uncle gives her a stern look, asking if she's cooking for Zhang again. Her father responds, commenting that it seems like he's been raising his daughter for someone else's family. Yao Yao grins and dismisses his words as nonsense. She asks why they've come back so early. He explains that work at the office finished up, so they decided to head home. Since it's rare for them to eat together, they were thinking of going out to a restaurant for a nice meal. Yao Yao tells them not to bother because she's almost finished cooking. Her father scratches his head, confused, and her uncle suggests they save the restaurant idea for another day and just enjoy this meal together. He then turns to her and asks about Jiang. She replies that she doesn't know and speculates that he might have gone out to play. While her uncle is grumbling about how unfair it is for him to enjoy himself while leaving Yao Yao behind. My partner suddenly bursts in, announcing he's starving and eager to eat. He quickly takes off his shoes and from the doorway asks what Yao Yao has prepared for dinner, commenting on how amazing it smells. In a joyful tone, he mentions buying her favorite candy, but adds that he got bitten by a large dog while picking it up. Uncle Li rubs his forehead in frustration, and the room falls quiet as everyone stares at Jiang. He freezes when he realizes the whole family is present. He slips the lollipop back into his pocket and quickly explains that he got chased by a dog on the way over, leaving him a bit shaken. Uncle Li raises his hand and suggests that since it's rare for them all to be together, there's no need to let this spoil the mood. He invites everyone to take a seat at the table. As Jiang joins him at the table, he pats him on the shoulder and reassures him that it's fine to show some bravado at his age. As Uncle Lu pours a drink into a glass, he casually says that there's nothing wrong with a young man showing off in front of someone he likes. Then he mentions something he saw earlier, saying he noticed him walking with a girl. When he asks for her name, Yao Yao quickly responds that it's Yu Zhou'er. Their father nods in approval, saying she's quite attractive. She's bright, clean, and has a lovely figure. He adds that if he were younger, he would have done anything to date someone like her. After this, he raises his glass to suggest a toast. Jiang, feeling uneasy, wonders how his uncle can speak so freely in front of Yao Yao. Yao Yao blushes but agrees to the toast. His dad notices him hesitating and tells him to raise his glass. Jiang smiles at Uncle Lu and without hesitation downs the drink in one go. Uncle Lu grins, deciding to let him enjoy showing off a bit. Jiang suggests that they start eating since he's been out all day and probably hasn't had much homemade food lately. Uncle Lu laughs, agreeing that this is a rare chance. He comments that since Yao Yao often cooks at home, it's no surprise that her culinary skills are top-notch. But suddenly, Uncle Lu looks at her with a hint of surprise. He seems doubtful, as he always orders takeout when he's at home. It looks like she really puts a lot of effort into caring for Jiang, preparing a variety of meals for him. Jiang looks at his uncle with a smirk, realizing he's won this round. As they continue eating, they share a few more toasts. After a while, Yao Yao and her father prepare to leave. At the door, Jiang wishes them a safe journey. His uncle exchanges farewells with Uncle Lu, who grins at Yao Yao as she waves goodbye. As the door closes behind them, Jiang picks up a bottle and asks if he's thirsty. He says no and settles down on the sofa. Jiang walks toward him, drinking from the bottle, letting water drip down his face. Li sits in silence, staring off into the distance before suddenly revealing that he has a question for him. Our boy is caught off guard and asks what it is. His uncle looks at him seriously and asks if he's unlocked his ability. This sudden question shocks Jiang. He stares at him wide-eyed. Jiang tries to brush it off, asking what he means by unlocking abilities. Uncle Li tells him that he's been working in the night patrol for 20 years and can easily identify injuries like his. He asks what really happened. Jiang leans back and explains that it all started about 2 weeks ago. His uncle then inquires about how he activated his powers. Jiang turns to Li with a smile and asks if he's being interrogated. Li, holding a cigarette, reassures him not to worry and just speak freely. Jiang seems thoughtful for a moment and admits he doesn't completely understand the situation, as it happened so suddenly. Li then asks if the event occurred naturally. He notes that such things are incredibly rare, happening maybe once every year. Jiang stretches out his hand and suggests it could all be due to his skills impress some, yet Li frowns, casting a sharp glare that unsettles Jiang. Li mentions that a test is scheduled for this year. Participation in the martial arts exam is mandatory for all. Jiang acknowledges this, assuring that both he and Yao Yao are already aware. Li is taken aback, asking if Yao Yao is informed as well. He continues, describing how the night patrol has faced extreme pressure in recent years, with casualties steadily climbing. Offering Jiang an alternative, he suggests skipping the martial exam and instead taking the college entrance exam. Jiang, confused, asks what he means by a backdoor, unable to grasp how his uncle could speak so casually about it. Li explains that Jiang can select from multiple universities for enrollment. He adds that if Jiang enjoys comics, he could join the art department or another suitable program without issues. Jiang realizes his uncle's influence for the first time. Stepping forward cautiously, he asks if he could simply obtain the certificate instead of enrolling. Li abruptly slaps Jiang, expressing disbelief. He insists that Jiang should attend the Winter Academy, praising its ideal environment. He promises that after finishing his studies, he will secure a stable job for him, allowing a happy life with Yao Yao. Jiang clutches his head, frustrated, questioning why things must be this way. He insists he still wants to strive to become extraordinary. Li grows angrier, shouting that Jiang must comply. Li calms himself briefly, standing silently in front of him. Jiang continues to resist, warning that if a backdoor is offered, he will report it to the Night Patrol Bureau. Li looks puzzled, trying to understand what he just said. They hold a tense silence before Li sighs, emphasizing that he is serious. He warns that the world of special individuals is far more perilous than Jiang can imagine. He advises focusing on studies while he manages the risks. Jiang, however, remains determined, asserting his seriousness as well. He points out that danger is everywhere and cannot shield them indefinitely. The room grows silent until Li finally looks away, exhaling deeply. He warns that Jiang might regret his choice once he fully understands it, but before his junior year, he can still reconsider. Jiang asks Li to avoid involvement in shady dealings in the future. Hearing this, Li heads toward the door. As he is about to leave, Jiang calls out for him to wait. Li turns back, curious about what more he wants. Zhang recalls something from the information Yao Yao shared recently. It mentions that special individuals can use all their powers before dying to avoid transformation into something else. He asks if transformation is still possible even after exhausting all abilities. Lai pauses before confirming that it can occur, especially for those with certain powers or if external factors interfere. Li asks why he brings this up. He shrugs, saying he is merely curious. As Li puts on his shoes near the exit, he reminds Jiang that choosing martial arts means facing such threats eventually. He advises rest and avoiding fights. Jiang agrees, promising to heed the advice. Before leaving, Li mentions that this year's martial arts exam is scheduled early, right after the Lunar New Year. Jiang questions the timing. Lai confirms and tells him to get ready before departing. The scene shifts to the white-haired girl, who receives a phone notification. The blogger she follows has uploaded a new video. Excited, she grabs her phone to watch it. She notices many comments dismissing the video as a fake. Many claim the night patrol uses real weapons, while the blogger relies on editing to attract views. Another complains about sponsored content. The video has 1,847 comments and 2.1 million likes. Frustrated, she notes the increase in haters, believing it stems from jealousy over used talent. Annoyed by the criticism, she types an angry reply, accusing the critics of envy and ignorance. While typing, she pauses, staring silently at the screen. She hopes Yu is not a fraud and prays it is not an apology video. As she taps to play, text appears on screen. If you don't hunt, you will die. She is impressed by the strong intro, a POV starting at a building's edge. The scene captivates her, feeling as though she is inside the video with him. A blinding burst of light erupts and he abruptly leaps off the building. The girl can't make sense of it and shrieks in terror. Tears gather in her eyes as she snaps them back open, scanning her surroundings in bewilderment. With both hands held out before her, she watches him, unsure of what to think. He shifts slightly and she looks up at his face with awe, as if trying to decide whether this is truly superhuman power. He absorbs the attack head-on, taking the full impact to his abdomen as he spreads his arms, and a brilliant flash floods the area with light. A monster appears out of nowhere right in front of him. Seeing it from so close, she knows it's something beyond ordinary. Yu shoots out spider webs to pull himself away from the creature. The girl keeps staring, thinking it all looks unbelievably cool. Yu drives a powerful kick into the monster's face and immediately follows with a flurry of strikes. The girl clenches her fists, thrilled by the spectacle. She can't help wondering if she's watching a real clash between extraordinary powers and an alien race. It all feels too genuine, and she's sure there's no way this could be staged. The boy launches himself from the rooftop straight at the monster. Their eyes lock in. In that moment, he understands he really is a warrior from the northern capital. A thunderous impact follows, and the monster is utterly obliterated. Green fluid drips down from Yu's hands. He pauses beside the fallen creature and activates his Shadow Devour skill. The girl stands quietly behind him, watching it all happen. She wonders if he truly absorbed another life form, and whether his spiderweb power came from taking in the spider he fought earlier. She also questions if this will grant him even more abilities. Back at home, Zhang tosses his clothes into the laundry basket and faces the mirror. Staring at the injury on his face, he murmurs that it hurts badly. He winds a bandage around his torso and admits the alien species around here are exceptionally tough. If they hadn't already been wounded, he likely wouldn't have made it. Then his phone buzzes with an alert, and he sees a new video from the blogger DDAO, the same one who tried to expose him earlier. The man greets his audience and says today's upload will once again focus on you. He insists this time it looked incredibly authentic, yet he still managed to spot the edits. As the video plays, he points out that the monster is badly injured and explains that in this condition, it become extremely feeble, meaning anyone with energy could have taken it down. He asks why you'd bother with such a simple opponent if you're truly remarkable. Zhang watches without a word, then decides to close the clip and shut off his phone. He finds the guy disgusting and irritating and drops back onto the couch. Thinking about where he stands now, he realizes his strength still isn't enough to handle first-grade alien species. His eyes widen with resolve as he vows to grow stronger, so strong that no one will ever dare question him again. Balling his hand into a fist, he braces himself for what comes next. The system shows his current stats, noting his shadow points are still at maximum, at 32 out of 32. He also now has abilities like Shadow Weave, which he obtained from the spider, and Shadow Claw, earned from the last monster he killed. The system's rating says he appears strong but is actually weak. That infuriates him, and he snaps that it's the system's functions that are weak. He boasts that he's 100 times stronger than his girlfriend. He could even take on 50 of his uncle. Even so, he knows it still isn't enough. From his recent fights, he's picked up new skills. Jing had assumed shadow points worked like experience points, but they're closer to a kind of energy reserve. Every skill he uses drains shadow points depending on its level. On top of that, his shadow form consumes points based on the environment. If he uses it in the shadow world, it costs nothing, but it will still use a small amount of points if activated in the real world at night. if he uses it in daylight. It burns through a massive amount of shadow points. He spends shadow points to heal himself and thinks about the upcoming marital exam. He figures most people taking the test will amount to only about 1 to 3 shadow points compared with what he has. So even if he doesn't improve further, he should still have more than enough power to overcome them. He realizes that his constant bragging is drawing attention, yet he refuses to be modest. Instead, he opts to flaunt his strength during the exam. He bursts into laughter, claiming that his uncle's backing means he has nothing to worry about. The man living directly below watches him, thinking he's lost his mind. The next day, he slumps in a mall, looking completely drained. His girlfriend promised it would only take an hour, but she's been shopping since dawn. He leans on his friend, lamenting that he might collapse if he continues wasting days like this. His friend gently pushes him away, warning him not to speak so grimly at the start of the new year, fearing it could bring misfortune. Zhang glances at him and insists he's serious. If he doesn't go hunting, death is a real possibility. His friend grows concerned, asking for clarification. Zhang quickly looks at his girlfriend and dismisses it as nothing. The four decide to grab a meal at a restaurant. Jing promises to pick a spot that suits everyone's taste. Eventually, they find themselves in a cafe with offerings like garlic oysters, steamed oysters, and fried onion. The girls stare at the menu, puzzled, while Yao Yao questions if this place truly caters to all their preferences. The green-haired girl confirms it but notes that the cafe seems more targeted toward male students. Zhang scans the menu and tells the waiter he recently got injured and needs to restore his energy. He orders toast, soy sauce, fried rice, and egg soup. The waiter notes his order, affirming it's a solid choice. Yao Yao smirks, surprised by his ordinary choice, expecting something more extravagant. Zhang admits it's simple food. He then requests larger, fresher oysters. The waiter is taken aback, staring at him in disbelief. After a while, the food arrives and the waiter wishes them an enjoyable meal. Zhang offers some to his girlfriend, insisting she needn't stay hungry, but she declines. At that moment, her phone buzzes with a message. It announces that the martial arts exam has been rescheduled, now starting gradually on February 17th. The exams are expected to conclude by February 20th, with the specialized training camp opening on the 25th. Her friend reacts with shock, questioning if this is true since the martial arts exam is mandatory. Another friend mentions that the qualifications test must be taken after the year-end period, making matters more complicated and frustrating. Zhang casually reassures them, patting a friend's shoulder and noting their qualifications aren't high enough to worry. The friend replies sarcastically, thanking him for the remark. He then recounts a childhood story about being chased by an alien specter at age 7. By the time the night patrol arrived and defeated it, he had fallen sick and endured psychological trauma. With a grin, Zhang confidently claims he could have easily fought off that alien at his home. His friend looks astonished. Yao Yao, unimpressed, asks if he really believes everyone is as foolish as he is. She points out that not everyone shares his bravado. Most people would choose to run. She notes that's sensible, as the effects of encounters with the alien species are deeply ingrained in their hearts. A few seconds of silence follow. The table remains untouched as Jiang and Yao Yao exchange looks. Finally, he spreads his arms, suggesting they lighten up and propose a toast. Before he finishes, a loud, startling noise erupts, making everyone in the cafe leap from their seats. Yao Yao identifies the sound as a pollution siren, signaling an alien invasion in the commercial center. Panic spreads rapidly, freezing many in fear. A man shouts for evacuation, and chaos ensues as the crowd pushes toward the exits, urging each other to move faster. Some cry in terror, saying the threat is too close. Amid the chaos, only Jiang, Yao Yao, and their friends remain calm. They watch as people struggle to push past each other in desperation. The man anxiously observes the crowd's frantic attempt to escape. The green-haired girl checks her phone for updates and asks what their next move should be. After a short pause, Yao Yao calmly instructs everyone to remain composed and make their way to the exit in an organized fashion. Before they can move, they hear Zhang's voice telling them to clear the way. Before she fully comprehends, Zhang suddenly strikes the wall, creating a large hole. The unexpected action catches everyone off guard, especially Yao Yao, who stands frozen, watching in astonishment. Zhang gestures for her to move and tells her there's no time to waste. They must escape. Without hesitation, the group charges toward the newly formed exit, hastily made by Zhang. Moving cautiously, he scans the area and spots someone running in the opposite direction. The person yells a warning, claiming that someone else is present, before disappearing into the crowd. A bright red glow flashes, sending a wave of anxiety through the group. Zhang quickly realizes the monster is close by. With so many people around, shifting into his shadow form would expose him. Without a second thought, he grabs Yao Yao's hand and pulls her along. Panic sweeps through the crowd, and terrified gasps fill the air as people struggle to breathe. A voice shouts for everyone to flee. However, Yao Yao hesitates, questioning how the alien invaders breached the commercial center since the defense forces were supposed to be close. Zhang shakes his head, telling her there's no time to dwell on that now. Their only goal is to get out. He adds that they're fortunate the people managed to evacuate. Otherwise, there could have been a deadly massacre inside the center. Pointing in the direction, he signals the way out. As the group reaches the exit, he suddenly halts. With panic in his eyes, he urges everyone to hold on to him tightly as the building is about to collapse. Before anyone can react, the entire structure falls apart and they scream in terror. They cling to one another, but it's too late. Together, they plummet. Zhang fights to get up, wincing in pain. Looking around, he checks on the others. Yao Yao, rubbing her chin, reassures him that everyone is mostly fine, just with a few scrapes. Suddenly, they hear their friend's voice cry out in pain, claiming to have broken his leg. They notice him sitting some distance away, with a heavy concrete slab trapping his leg. Zhang rushes over, gripping an iron rod sticking out of the rubble. He reassures his injured friend, vowing to help him, with a determined effort. He lifts the slab, freeing the trapped leg. The injured man groans, but the weight is gone. Yao Yao hands him some pain relief pills, advising him to take them as they should help ease the pain. He swallows them quickly, still shaken, and glances around nervously. The man starts to sweat and asks where they are. He feels like he's in a dark, eerie place. Yao Yao is taken aback by this and remarks that she's never seen anything like it. Kneeling down, Zhang places his palm on the ground. He recognizes the floor of the commercial center and surmises they must be in the basement. However, his expression suddenly shifts, sensing something wrong. As dark energy swirls around his hand, he realizes something. This feeling, it's all too familiar. His breath catches. He realizes they've been pulled into the shadow realm. All around them, cries of distress fill the air. Some people are injured, others are simply terrified. A young girl clings to her father, sobbing. The father tries to comfort her, promising that the night patrol will soon rescue them. Zhang grows anxious as he observes the situation. He knows this is dire since too many people are trapped in the shadow realm. Movement within the shadow realm is impossible, meaning the night patrol will be delayed. If they remain here for too long, even without alien attacks, the toxic atmosphere could kill them. He knows they must get out of here fast. Thinking quickly, he turns to Yao Yao and asks if she's wearing the watch her father gave her. Her eyes widen as she checks her wrist, realizing she had forgotten it. The group suddenly feels a renewed sense of hope, and smiles break out. She presses a button, explaining that the device can send a distress signal to alert the night patrol. The girl with green hair gets overly excited, saying that Yao Yao has saved them with her clever thinking. While the others celebrate, Zhang remains thoughtful. He's unsure if the signal will speed up their rescue. Still, the watch should help protect them from the pollution for a while, but the alien attack could happen at any moment, so he must stay vigilant. As he prepares to use his shadow ability, the ground suddenly shakes. A new wave of panic sweeps through everyone as monstrous creatures appear from the darkness. Zhang watches the creatures, realizing they have finally arrived. The shaking intensifies and his friends start screaming in terror. Zhang, however, stays calm and gazes at the aliens with a smirk. After the dust settles, Yao Yao begins coughing. She calls for her friends, asking for their location. The green-haired friend rushes over, placing hands on her shoulders to steady her, comforting her with reassurance that she is there. While through the haze, another friend shouts out, trying to find them. Yao Yao keeps searching for Jiang, calling his name. Suddenly, her friend gasps and points to a massive fissure in the ground. Yao Yao's heart races as she asks if he really fell there. Ruin surrounds them, with debris scattered everywhere. The white-haired girl, struggling to move, crawls out from under the wreckage. She sits on the ground, bewildered, trying to piece together what occurred. As she touches her head, memories flood back. She had been shopping with Xiaoya when the alarm rang, triggering chaos and panic. Looking around frantically, she calls for her friend. Her hand brushes against something unexpectedly. Looking down, she freezes in shock. Xiaoya's mangled body lies nearby. A shiver runs through her as tears fill her eyes. She stammers, struggling to comprehend the sight, unable to believe it. At that moment, a dark figure appears behind her, a claw lunging toward her. As she turns, realization hits. This is how she will die. The notion of such a death never crossed her mind. She had thought these horrifying moments only existed in movies. She imagines that, as a heroine, a hero would come to her rescue, or at least someone would attempt to save her. Yet, reality proves no one will arrive. In the real world, heroes do not exist. Resigned, she closes her eyes, anticipating the inevitable. Blood splashes across the stone floor. When she opens her eyes, a dark figure stands before her. She wipes away tears, breathing heavily, staring in disbelief. It is Jiang, the same man from the YouTube videos. He grips the monster's claw firmly, holding it back with ease. Her heart flickers with hope, wondering if he is her savior. Without hesitation, he hurls the monster into the abyss. Looking closer, she confirms it is him. A system notification appears, indicating that shadow, combined with the assassin's skills, boosts attack lethality. Zhang activates the skill, lunging at the monster. With a powerful strike, he sends it flying, but it quickly stabilizes, digging its claws into the ground. Its eyes lock onto him as it pants heavily. Unable to contain her excitement, the girl claps enthusiastically. The entire scene feels dreamlike and surreal. She stammers, exclaiming he is the assassin. Zhang Yu notices her enthusiasm, and before he can respond, she rushes to him, snapping photos and grabbing his hand eagerly. She gushes, expressing how she has watched all his videos and finds him incredibly impressive. He, however, calls her a little girl, noting her stockings and dress are torn. Realizing this, she hesitates and steps back. Suddenly self-conscious, she asks if her appearance bothers him. He reassures her quickly, but she playfully insists. If he dislikes it, she says, she can go home and change into something better. He jokingly asks if the new dress will be silk. She tells him not to worry about the silk and mentions she will also bring spicy chicken. Meanwhile, the monster grows impatient, observing them. Letting out a threatening growl, Zhang's expression turns serious. He tells her they can discuss the dress later. With a sudden shift, he leaps forward, declaring the hunt has begun. The monster, confused, struggles to follow his movements. Suddenly, it is struck at the back of its head. Zhang lands nearby, holding a weighted rope used in the attack. The monster lunges at him, but he dodges gracefully. The creature roars in frustration. Zhang assesses, realizing he still lacks full strength and precision. Otherwise, he could have ended the fight with a single blow. Without delay, he charges forward to strike again. Just as he prepares, two other monsters attack him. He blocks and steps back. The monsters laugh, confident in their numbers. Facing them, he realizes this fight will be more challenging. The white-haired girl, still filming, cheerfully wishes him luck and promises a reward if he wins. Yang blushes in excitement, then quickly refocuses, determined to push forward. He insists his actions are for their sake, leaping to evade one monster's attack. While airborne, another monster attacks. Suspended midair, he cannot dodge it conventionally. Thinking quickly, he swings his claw, launching a blue rope that wraps around the monster's limb. Using the momentum, he slashes. The strike lands fatally, the monster collapses. Turning to the last one, Zhang smiles confidently, certain it cannot defeat him. Before he can make a move, another creature sneaks up from behind and strikes his shoulder. The blow causes him to bleed. Blood oozes from the wound and he leaps back in surprise. He clutches his shoulder in shock, amazed that the monsters are capable of coordinated attacks. While two monsters struggle to pin him down, the third focuses entirely on offense. He realizes he can't win if they keep this strategy. He needs to take out one first. Thinking this, he fires at one of the monsters, but it quickly dodges with a tilt of its head. He frowns, wondering if it anticipated the attack. Before he can respond, all three monsters charge him simultaneously, encircling him completely. He tries to dodge, but they prevent him from retreating into the shadows. Repeated hits reduce his health to 45%. Knowing he can't continue this way, he pushes forward while deflecting their attacks. He knows he must lure them away. As he moves, one strikes his back, dropping his health to 35%. Resolute, he activates the mark, a skill that instills fear in targets for several seconds. Thanks to his notoriety from a previous video, the fear effect lasts 3 seconds instead of the usual duration. The countdown begins and the monsters are struck with terror. Zhang uses the chance to eliminate one of them. He sneaks behind a monster and finishes it off. By the time the timer hits 3 seconds, the task is complete. Standing over the defeated creature, the system notifies him that the hunt was successful. As a reward, his shadow form grows more powerful, lowering energy costs for his skill. Within the shadow layer, his healing and energy absorption improve. He quickly heals his deep wound, examines his clawed hands, then turns to the remaining monsters, declaring it is their turn now. The two remaining monsters look at him fearfully. His health rises to 55%. Dark energy radiates from him. He mocks them, asking why they hesitate now when they were attacking him just moments ago. If they refuse to strike, he will. As he moves, sudden beams of bright light appear. He stops, bewildered. Where could this light be coming from in the shadow layer? Blue sparks shimmer around him, and an invisible force draws him toward the light. The monsters notice and growl loudly. At that moment, the night patrol arrives, led by Commander Song Ching'an, carrying the eternal flame used to dispel shadows. The flame also serves as a bright source of light. Extending his hand, he releases a stream of green energy, silently targeting Jiang. Zhang, uneasy, asks what is happening. He shouts reassurance that he is on their side. A monster lunges at Song Ching'an, but without looking. He fires the green blast upward, instantly killing it. Zhang watches in shock, realizing the monster was destroyed in one strike. He wonders if this is the true power of the night patrol. He knows a hit a moment ago could have killed him instantly. He walks to a squad member, smirking, noting they arrived late as the battle is nearly over. The man in dark glasses apologizes, asking who he is. Zhang dismisses it, saying it doesn't matter. He points to a white-haired girl, instructing them to take care of her since she is injured. The girl protests, reminding him he was supposed to send her home. He salutes and says he was only joking. As a night guard member, duty comes first. Before disappearing into shadows, he tells them she is now in their care. The girl calls out his online name, urging him to stop, but he is already gone. Qingyan asks if anyone has a record of that name. The man explains he is known on a certain platform, wields shadow abilities, but is likely just level 1 and not very strong. Qingyan doubts this. Seeing the flame in his hand, he questions whether any shadows could be nearby. Moreover, he vanished in front of everyone, something a level 1 should not be able to do. Looking down at the crying girl, he decides to send her home for now. Later, they will investigate you properly. Meanwhile, Yao Yao moves through the battlefield, calling out anxiously for Jiang. She shines light from her watch, stammering, hoping nothing bad has happened to him. Suddenly his voice breaks the silence, calling her name from behind. She turns, startled, seeing him trapped under rubble. He weakly cries for help, saying his chest feels tight and he can't breathe. She rushes over, reassuring him. She immediately tends to him, helping him breathe and trying to relieve the pressure on his chest. She tells him to hold on while she clears away the debris. As she reaches for him, he grabs her hand, telling her he can't hang on any longer. He insists she just pull him out. She asks how she can do that with all this pressure from the rocks, but with some effort. Jiang emerges from the wreckage. She stares at him, sensing that something isn't quite right. She points to the rubble and asks if it's not the stone that's holding him down. He chuckles, telling her he could have freed himself, but he might have been too scared to move. She narrows her gaze, noticing a deep wound on his back. She asks if the stone caused it. He replies that he isn't sure, though in his mind, he knows the stone didn't inflict it. The wound was from the monster. He inquires about their friends. She smiles and explains that the night patrol handled the rescue, which is why Feng Xiaoxiao and Liu Yuqiang were taken away. He asks if she stayed behind just to find him. Yao Yao, flustered, turns away and folds her arms, responding. She says that if anything happened to him, she wouldn't be able to face his uncle. Her words leave him at a loss for words and tears start to well up in his eyes. Overcome with emotion, he suddenly embraces her. Yao Yao is shocked by his reaction but quickly starts hitting him, demanding he let go. He holds on tightly. He tells her he just saw a bunch of strange creatures with large knives, cutting things everywhere. He admits he's scared and needs her hug for comfort. She stays frustrated, asking him to move away. Suddenly, they both hear a voice, drawing their attention. A girl with green hair and a lantern approaches, asking if they're okay since she heard a scream. Yao Yao immediately pushes Zhang away and reassures the girl that everything is fine. He quickly affirms her words. The girl sighs in relief and tells them to follow her. She'll lead them out of there. Just as they're about to leave, Zhang suddenly cries out. Concerned, Yao Yao asks what's wrong. He wipes his tears and says it's nothing, but at that moment, he realizes he forgot to absorb the shadow points from the creatures he had defeated. The next morning, inside the Night Patrol's headquarters, Zhang is being questioned. He sits in the interrogation room with Eli Yuan, an officer of the Night Patrol. He tells her his name is Jiang and he's 18 years old. The conversation is being recorded. She asks if he started his school this year and he confirms that he did. She says the recent event seems to have affected him deeply. She informs him that, as per standard procedure, those involved in the incident must receive psychological treatment and medication from the Night Patrol office. This treatment will last a month. She then explains that during this period, if the military exam takes place, the evaluation score for the qualification test will be significantly impacted. Zhang asks if he can skip the treatment since he feels mentally fine. She warns him that the effects of contamination can be subtle, and by the time symptoms show, it may be too late. Because of this, the treatment is mandatory. He tells her the military exam is in less than 10 days, and worries the timing might conflict. She reassures him, saying this happens often, and the Night Patrol has procedures to accommodate such situations. If needed, individuals can apply in advance for special consideration. Interested in the process, Jiang listens as she places a document in front of him, instructing him to have his parents or guardians sign it. The preliminary tests, she explains, are done during night patrol, and results are recorded in the system. The procedure is structured like an exam using the same equipment, ensuring fairness. The Night Patrol also guarantees safety in case of unexpected complication. Jiang calmly tells her his guardian is his uncle, who also works for the Night Patrol. She smiles and says that simplifies things, asking for his uncle's name. Jiang hesitates before saying his uncle works in East Zone 1 in a regular administrative role. He tells her his uncle's name is Li Xingguang. Upon hearing this, Yuan leans forward eagerly and asks if he means Li from the Mu family. He asks if Shun means 3 dots and Guang means brightness. Jiang nods, confused, and she asks if he's sure his uncle is in a regular administrative role. He's puzzled and wonders if that isn't the case. He thinks maybe his uncle was fired and now he's being questioned. He tells her he hasn't reported him yet. The girl laughs and reassures him that everything is fine. She doesn't elaborate any further. After organizing the papers, she tells him that she can guide him straight to his uncle and asks him to follow her. They soon walk into a vast 3-story building with a glass dome overhead. They pass by displays of military attire, weapons, and holograms. She reminds him to stick close, and Zhang, eager to explore, takes in his surroundings. He acknowledges her advice. He wonders if this peculiar building is where their main operations are based. As they move forward, 2 soldiers walk past. one of them. A young man with green hair asks if Jiang is part of the night patrol. The other soldier confirms that they've run several background checks. And there's no record of him. Jiang overhears the conversation, his eyes widening in surprise. Yuan notices his reaction and asks if anything is wrong. He hesitates briefly before dismissing it, explaining that it's his first time here and he's feeling a bit uncomfortable. Inside, he grows more anxious as the night patrol has begun investigating. When they reach the door, Yuan tells him to wait and relax, while she looks for Li Xingguang. Once inside, Zhang takes in the surroundings in surprise. Yao Yao and Feng Xiaoxiu are already there. Yao Yao appears to still be talking to the white-haired girl. She rises from her seat and asks the white-haired girl if she really met the assassin. The white-haired girl proudly affirms that she did and even credits him with saving her. Jiang watches the white-haired girl, curious about her presence. Meanwhile, Yao Yao quickly gestures toward the seat next to hers and invites him to sit. Once he does, she turns back to the white-haired girl and asks what happened after she encountered Yu. She recounts how she saw him take on 10 monsters at once. He was calm and focused, and in an instant when the shadow sword appeared, he swiftly decapitated all the strange creatures. She continues and explains that when the battle became too much for him, the night patrol members arrived. However, he vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only a record of his heroic action. Zhang listens but thinks she's exaggerating, as most of what she says didn't happen. He notices her stockings and smirks, deciding to let her off the hook for her story. Yao Yao, after listening, asks who this person is. She points out that he doesn't appear to be part of the night patrol. The girl suggests he might be a student just like them. Intrigued, she asks where this information comes from. The white-haired girl twirls a lock of her hair and explains that his words, actions, and instincts all indicate so. Most importantly, she adds he seems to have a particular interest in a girl's transparent and snug socks. She then points at Zhang, saying he's exactly like him. Zhang, shocked, tries to clarify, but before he can, Yao Yao grabs his hair and raises her fist, telling him his character hasn't changed. He stammers in response, attempting to get up when Lu suddenly bursts into the room. Seeing her father, she asks in confusion what's going on. Panting, he asks if she's all right and if it's true that she entered the shadow layer. Yao Yao pinches Zhang's cheeks and reassures him that everything is fine, nothing has happened. She assures him that Zhang is all right too, but his body is itching a little. Her father nods with a smile and seeing that everyone is safe, he tells them to follow him. After a while, they are seated in a small office. Yao Yao asks him if this situation is serious. He confirms, saying that it's the first time in history an entire store has fallen into the shadow layer. They are still tallying the number of victims, but fortunately, no one was harmed. He informs them that their test will take place earlier than expected due to the incident. As he speaks, he reaches for a cigarette but pauses when he notices Lu Yao Yao's disapproving look. He starts explaining the test, mentioning it consists of 2 parts. The first part is an ability test, and the second part is a test of willpower. He places the cigarette back on the table and says the first part is known as the initial awakening test, where students are exposed to contamination to unlock their ability. This test carries minimal risk and helps determine the student's specialties based on their ability. Next comes the willpower qualification test, where their mental strength and determination will decide their success or failure. He leans in, his face serious, and reveals that the final evaluation is what truly determines whether they are exceptional. Zhang inquires if this means that willpower is the critical factor in the second evaluation. The stronger someone's will, the higher their chances of succeeding. Lu's father shakes his head, explaining that it's more complicated than that. Some individuals can endure severe pain, such as losing a limb, yet still lack the qualities needed. Meanwhile, others who appear carefree or naive can sometimes display the greatest potential. Willpower isn't only about physical endurance, it's about believing in goodness, fighting evil, and being adaptable to hardship. Simply put, it's a complex concept. Zhang raises his hand, asking if certain thoughts can influence willpower. Lu's father, confused, asks why he brings this up. Yao Yao, irritated, provides an example. What if someone constantly thinks about a girl's legs? Zhang, embarrassed, realizes she is talking about him. Lu's father, ignoring the joke, clarifies that it has a minimal effect on willpower. Thoughts tied to personal integrity don't significantly improve outcomes. However, if a person harbors negative thoughts and their heart is filled with malice, the results will be disastrous. Zhang, now concerned, asks why this happens. Lu's father responds sternly, saying that evil thoughts bring about more evil. Negative emotions contribute to pollution, and if left unchecked, they lead to overwhelming corruption. If negativity resides in their hearts, they must find a way to release it. Suppressing it will only lead to confusion, and that is the worst outcome. Zhang ponders this deeply for a moment, wondering if it's normal to have negative emotions. He soon realizes he needs to head to the club to clear his troubled mind. Lu Yao Yao watches him in silence. Meanwhile, Lu's father stands up from the table, informing them that they must leave. Someone else will take them for the test later. As he nears the door, he casually mentions to Jiang that his uncle won't be returning soon as he's been assigned a task. He says he's already handled all the necessary paperwork for him. Jiang smiles, apologizing for the trouble, but Lu's father reassures him there's no need for concern. They should just go with the flow. John salutes him and agrees. Yao Yao, wearing a serious face, also affirms her understanding. Later, the white-haired girl greets them warmly, asking if they're back. As they sit down at a round table, Yao Yao asks where the others are. The girl gestures to the side, explaining that the others went to finish the formalities with their family. When asked why she didn't leave too, she explains that her parents are tied up with work. They left the city a few days ago and haven't returned yet. She just spoke with them earlier, and they managed to complete everything remotely. Suddenly, Yukian's voice fills the room as he announces that everyone has arrived. The others look to see him in a wheelchair, his leg in a splint. He's carried by Xiao Xiao, holding a cup of coffee and excitedly describing how amazing it is that something sprayed on his leg made all the pain disappear. Zhang walks over and points out that he's injured. He asks if he's sure he wants to take the test. Yao Yao also inquires if something is wrong. He assures them that there's no need to worry. He's been told that his injury won't affect the results. Xiao Xiao, grinning, pats him on the back. He jokes that although Yukian looks confident now, he was crying in the corner just a moment ago. Yukian immediately protests, insisting he wasn't crying. At that moment, the door opens once more, and a group of young people enters, their faces downcast. The blonde man in the front even wipes away a tear. Curious about their somber mood, Zhang asks why they look so sad. Yao Yao, eyeing them with sympathy, remarks that they simply long for a peaceful life. But after the test, their lives will likely change significantly. Yen steps forward and, after ensuring everyone is present, announces that it's time to begin. She explains that the test consists of two parts. The first is the ability test, and the second evaluates willpower. The ability test assesses their potential, destructive capabilities, and their capacity to use their skills effectively. Abilities are ranked into 4 levels: low, medium, high, and advanced. Meanwhile, the willpower test measures their resistance to outside influences, with results displayed in 6 colors: white, green, blue, purple, red, and orange. In past years, people with level 1 abilities didn't have to take the test. But this time, everyone must participate. Their potential to become exceptional is assessed at each stage of their development. She stresses that even with limited abilities, strong determination might still lead to success. However, if one's willpower is weaker than their skill, and their qualifications fall short, they will only find themselves working in public service. With that, she closes the folder decisively and instructs everyone to follow her outside, while the applicants wait in the room. Jiang, standing by the window, observes a man in the adjacent room, positioned next to a covered object. Suddenly, a loud announcement over the speakers calls for Xiao Xiao to step into the room. Shocked, she responds with hesitation before walking forward. As the doors open, the voice reassures her, telling her there's no need for concern. She glances back at her friends, anxiety in her eyes, but then decides to proceed, saying she is prepared. Upon entering, she sees the man beside the covered object. Those waiting by the window press closer, eagerly watching. Without warning, the man pulls back the cloth, unveiling a large, dazzling diamond. He then gestures for the test to commence. The light above the door shifts from green to red. The room dims, and Yu Kaiyan wonders aloud what is happening, questioning whether it's really necessary to turn off the lights for this test. Yao Yao, closely observing, suggests this might be a test of willpower. Meanwhile, Zhang silently watches, reflecting on how accustomed he has become to the darkness. He has spent much time in the shadowed environment in that dimly lit room. Xiao Xiao stands motionless, and Yu, watching from the outside, spot something unusual. A glowing stone rests by her foot. It seems she's facing intense resistance. You wonder if the glowing stone is the cause. Moments later, the bright light suddenly floods the room again, causing everyone to squint. As Xiao Xiao exits the room, Yao Yu rushes to meet her, eager to learn about her experience. Yu Kaiyan also asks whether she has finished the test. However, she shakes her head, explaining that she lacks sufficient willpower. Despite years of effort, she has never managed to improve in this area. Yu Kaiyan points at her in disbelief, questioning how this could be possible. He hadn't realized she had worked so hard to be exceptional. She admits she tried, but nothing worked. Just then, another announcement calls for him to take the test. Immediately, his face changes to one of concern. As he heads toward the door, he repeats to himself that he doesn't want to be special. He wishes it won't happen. Watching him leave, Xiao Xiao remarks that he needn't worry, since he's unlikely to pass anyway. After a while, the red light outside the room turns green. Yu Kaiyan returns looking stunned. He mutters, still in disbelief, that he has actually passed. Xiao Xiao, shocked, expresses her surprise. They sit together, and Xiao Xiao, still upset, repeats how much she wanted to succeed but failed. Yu Kaiyan, on the other hand, had no desire to take the test but ended up passing. Observing them, Yao Yao sighs, commenting on how unpredictable life can be. Meanwhile, the voice over the speakers calls for Yao Yao, signaling that it's her turn. Taking a deep breath, she smiles at Jiang and tells him she'll see him later. As she enters the testing area, she crosses her arms and focuses. Streams of red energy begin to flow from her and the stone at her feet glows brightly. Jiang watches carefully, noticing a change. Her stone is turning red, while the one before her friend continues to shine green. He recalls that willpower is categorized into colors corresponding to levels 1 through 6. His eyes widen in astonishment as he realizes that red corresponds to level 5. The light above the door turns green, signaling the completion of the test. As soon as she steps out, her friend anxiously asks if the test is finished. Yao Yao, still maintaining composure, replies calmly that the test is over, but she isn't sure about the results. She keeps a calm demeanor, not giving away her thoughts. Her friend, still worried, presses her for more detail, but she just smiles and says nothing more. Yao Yao's quiet response leaves her friend still unsure, but she remains composed, clearly confident in her own ability. With her arms folded and gazing down, she responds with a simple yes. Nearby, Jiang awkwardly chuckles and inquires if she's worn out. She gasps for air, yet only tells him that he'll understand everything once he steps inside. Without a moment's hesitation, Jiang hurries toward her and wraps her in a hug, jokingly asking why she hasn't motivated him yet. Annoyed, she grits her teeth and shoves him away, telling him to leave her alone. At that moment, an announcement rings out. Calling Zhang as the next participant, he eagerly rushes to the door. Waving at her, he heads inside. Watching him, she clenches her fist but manages to offer a small smile. Wishing him luck, he thanks her and steps through the door. The moment Jiang enters the room, the light above the door turns red. A man approaches him. Holding a sheet of paper, he asks for Jiang's name. Zhang confirms his identity. Afterward, the man takes the application and gives him a small test tube with a blue cap. He then asks if Jiang has unlocked his ability. Jiang nods affirmatively. The man tells him to drink the liquid, but as he looks up from the papers, his face changes to one of surprise, and he repeats the question, wondering if Jiang has truly awakened his power. Having already drunk the liquid, Zhang explains that he awakened naturally. The man, seemingly uninterested in further discussion, points to a rock and a blindfold. He suggests they begin the willpower test right away and instructs him to put the blindfold on. Soon, Zhang stands in the center of the room, blindfolded. He suddenly feels a presence as the man places both hands on his shoulders. The man assures him to stay calm and trust his instinct. He explains that now that Zhang's abilities are awakened, his consciousness will soon detach from his body. There's nothing to fear, he just needs to move forward. With that, the man pushes him ahead, urging him to proceed. As Zhang takes a step, something feels wrong. He senses himself falling into a boundless void. A blue light surrounds him, and then in a flash, he finds himself on a water-like surface. He looks at his hands, awed by the strange sensation. His body feels weightless, but he's still tethered to it. He experiments by leaping across the water, enjoying the dreamlike feeling. The man, watching from afar, watches in amazement as Zhang moves unpredictably, twisting and jumping. He exclaims at how odd it is, but quickly warns him to stop leaping, as it could interfere with the test. Zhang quickly calms himself, acknowledging the warning. He then sprints toward a large, glowing stone ahead. At first, it seems easy, but as he gets closer, he notices something strange. His body begins to sink. His eyes widen in shock as he realizes he's being pulled under. The deeper he goes, the heavier his body feels, making it difficult to breathe. As he descends further, unfamiliar emotions flood his mind. Despair, sorrow, and anger, but gritting his teeth, he forces himself to focus. He realizes now that he must resist these feelings. Just as he breaks the surface, a familiar voice calls his name. Turning around, Zhang is shocked to see his uncle Li standing there. Confused, he asks why he's here. His uncle looks at him with determination and says that he can't be extraordinary by nature. He'll only cause harm to himself and others. Panic sets in as Zhang turns and flees, shouting that this must be an illusion. But as he looks ahead, Li appears again, blocking his path. He tells him that he needs to accept his inability to achieve this. Suddenly, more versions of his uncle appear. They inform him that their once great prosperity has crumbled. Mountains and rivers have been destroyed by the invasion of strange creatures, and the world is perilous. He insists Jiang could have a peaceful life, without being involved in such chaos, and wonders why he's so determined to become extraordinary. They point forward and say that being extraordinary means not just being strong, but also possessing immense willpower. A giant creature appears in front of them, and members of the night patrol charge toward it with torches in hand. The image of his uncle points to these men and asks if he's truly capable of becoming like them. The creature wreaks havoc in the city, leaving destruction in its wake. Buildings collapse and stones are scattered by the force of its rampage. Lifeless bodies fall from the sky. Zhang watches in horror, covering his head with his hands as the nightmarish scene unfolds before him. Amid the turmoil, Li's voice cuts through the chaos. This time, he lights a cigarette and declares that this is the fate of the extraordinary. He asks Jiang if he truly wants to end up like this. He tells him not to fool himself. All he wants is to show off and act like he belongs, and that's the reality. More and more versions of his uncle keep appearing, repeating the same phrases. They liken him to countless young people who fantasize about becoming heroes, craving adventure, admiration, and affection, yet not willing to put in the hard work. Jiang begins to feel overwhelmed by all these voices. They accuse him of wanting to believe he's different from everyone else, despite lacking real talent. The realization starts to settle in. Maybe he's not as special as he thought. He clutches his head, sinking to the ground as the mocking illusions laugh at him. In the distance, he spots a blazing flame, shining brightly in the darkness. The night patrol officer from the beginning approaches, holding the flame. The figures tell him that the world's dark side isn't just hidden beneath the surface. Even with the sun shining above, there will always be unseen things. This is the concealed world. Jiang reaches out, but the figure disappears and the flame falls into the water. Once again, horrifying monsters appear before him. The voices say that the real disaster isn't facing the dark side, but being someone extraordinary. The image of his uncle reappears and asks if he's truly capable of standing out. Hearing this, Jiang looks up, his face full of fury, gritting his teeth. In reality, he's in a room, watched by the night patrol officer. The officer stands with his arms crossed. The girl with green hair walks in and asks what's going on. He smiles and says he's doing fine, though he's been spinning in circles the whole time. She observes that this is to be expected, as not everyone can cope with the pollution he inherited. He agrees, but points out that only those with strong resolve can move forward. As for Jiang, he hasn't shown any signs of tiring yet. The girl looks to her right and suddenly notices the stone turning red. This startles him, and he's confused about how this is possible. Even though Jiang hasn't gotten close, the stone has already started glowing red. The officer watches in disbelief, unable to believe that Jiang has reached level 5 from such a distance. The girl touches his shoulder and wonders aloud if this might be a rank 6 situation. He frowns and tells her he's unsure, as only 15 people have reached that level so far. Jiang steps forward and the officer watches, unable to make sense of what's happening. As Jiang gets closer, the light seems to dim. He quickly asks the girl to check his wristband for any problems. She assures him that the data is accurate. The officer remains stunned, as the closer Jiang gets to the stone, the stronger his willpower should become. But with every step, it seems like his determination is fading. Jiang proceeds carefully. He stretches his hand toward the stone. The officer, still baffled, asks if this is some sort of prank. Even someone at rank 6 shouldn't be able to do this. But in that moment, Jiang finally touches the stone. A brilliant yellow light bursts forth and a dark vortex appears in the sky. A voice reverberates in Jiang's mind, urging him not to seek to be unique. Instead, he should think about his life, his friends, and those he cares for. Suddenly, Yao Yao appears in front of him, extending her hand with a kind smile. He accepts it, and the voice reminds him that this is his true place. Jiang finally speaks to the voice, saying that it's enough. The illusion shatters and he finds himself back in the room. He comments that it was whispering in his ear and wonders if it was part of the test. He smiles and jokes that at least they could have offered him all the girl. Inside the strange vortex, he starts walking toward his uncle, who now seems a little worried. Jiang admits that he was initially frightened and even a little resentful. At first, all he wanted was to be seen as a hero, without caring about anything else. But in this world, there are no superheroes, only regular people who succeed through perseverance and hard work. It's their quiet efforts that have created the peace and stability they enjoy now. He reaches out for the torch and says that he's already experienced peace before. The entire atmosphere brightens as Jiang declares that this time, he no longer wants to hide under the protection of others. He raises the flame and announces that he wants to become an eternal beacon for others. His uncle stares at him, stunned, as he claims that he wants to illuminate the darkness. The scene shifts to an office, where Lu's assistant approaches with paperwork, reporting that the ground collapse affected the second, third, and fourth floors of the shopping center. The fifth floor was also damaged, though not entirely. Around 850 people were involved. 700 were trapped in the shadow lair. Over 650 have been rescued, and the rescue operation is still underway. Meanwhile, a group of 30 students are about to take a self-defense arts exam. The procedure will be split into several phases for an initial screening, followed by immediate purification using light. Lu turns to the person seated in the chair and asks him about the pollution assessment department. The man replies that the results have already been finalized. He mentions that he has already sent the image over. The report highlights shadowy figures identified as Yu-Ling. These entities are classified as pollution level 1, with similar structures, bones, and numerous signs of artificial alteration. Lu's face shifts in shock as the man explains that these alterations indicate they were once human. The assistant shouts in disbelief, claiming it's impossible, as the process of transformation and pollution varies greatly from one person to another. He argues that it would be nearly impossible for 3 transformed beings to be so identical. Lu, lighting a cigarette, walks to the window and comments that someone important must have created this. Looking out, he adds that the figures hiding in the shadows can no longer stay concealed. A sudden burst of light appears before him, making him pause in confusion. His cigarette slips from his lips as he realizes the light is coming from the extraordinary test room. He hurries toward the room, pushing through the crowd and apologizing as he passes by. He knows that the highest score in the willpower test has always been represented by an orange light. There's never been any mention of gold. As he reaches the room and opens the door, he sees a group of people with puzzled expressions. The girl with green hair points to the test room and says the name Zhang. Lu's face contorts in shock as he focuses on the brilliant golden light emanating from Jiang's hand. He opens his eyes wide and turns to find his friends staring at him in stunned silence. Later, Lu finds Jiang in the restroom, handing him a bottle of water and urging him to drink. Jiang accepts the water with thanks and asks about Yao Yao and the others. Lu reassures him that they're resting in the break room and haven't been told anything yet. He tells Jiang that he gave everyone quite the shock. The fifth and sixth stages make sense, but what he did was even more extraordinary. Jiang smiles and jokingly asks if the golden light is legendary, superior to the 6 ranks. Lu hesitates, then admits it's hard to say. He hints that people like Jiang are often subjects of research and observation. Jiang coughs as he hears this. Lu finds his reaction amusing and asks if he's truly afraid. He assures Jiang they won't dissect him, but he will still be studied for data. His data will be shared with various night patrols, and he'll be under close observation. Jiang, still uneasy, asks if the situation is really that serious. Lu pats him on the shoulder and promises to stay with him during the necessary procedure. Jiang smiles, thinking this is a chance for him to show off. In the next scene, he sits in front of a panel of 3 officers, answering questions about his name and age. He introduces himself as Zhang, 18 years old. When asked about his hobbies, he simply replies that he enjoys reading and playing sports in his free time. Outside, a crowd has gathered, watching the live feed on a screen. Many are skeptical that an ordinary-looking boy could be the source of the golden light. Some even speculate that the system made a mistake, as golden light doesn't automatically indicate genius. Meanwhile, 3 men in suits observe the interview silently. When Jiang is asked about his experience during the willpower test, he explains that he saw several night patrol members advancing, torches in hand, preparing to face a giant creature. In his mind, Jiang finds the entire thing dull, as it follows the script written by his uncle. He's the golden legend and doesn't want to follow the standard procedure. Liu then asks him what went through his mind when he saw the others. Jiang lowers his gaze and admits that he felt a sense of transcendence. He felt the heavy burden of responsibility resting on his shoulders, but just as he's about to continue, he falls silent. The officers exchange looks, sensing something unsaid in Jiang's response. Jiang looks around the room, feeling the weight of the moment, but says nothing more. Liu leans forward, urging him to speak, but Jiang remains quiet. Lu, who has been watching from the doorway, smiles and shakes his head, knowing Jiang's thoughts remain private. The panel of officers finally nods, as if they've come to a mutual understanding with Jiang before the session ends. Lu encourages him to continue. Rather than answering directly, Jiang unexpectedly brings up the map in Liu's office. This question catches his uncle off guard, but he confirms it. Suddenly, Jiang jumps up, kicks the table, and announces that only half of the spots remain. He argues that their situation is far more complex than it appears and insists he must uncover the truth. Lu watches confused, unsure of Jiang's intentions. Zhang begins gesturing dramatically. He prays for the youth of Dajo to escape the cold. He recalls his own attempt to light a torch, only to fail, becoming the only source of light. As he speaks, his body begins to glow with a bright golden light, causing Liu to cover his face in embarrassment. Liu looks at the panel and apologizes for Jiang's unpredictable actions, noting that both of them are visibly moved by the scene. Tears fill their eyes. One of them admits they hadn't expected the story to be so emotional. The green-haired girl, wiping her tears, expresses her hope that he will succeed in the night patrol. Lu watches in disbelief, astonished by what he is seeing. Someone observing through the camera remarks that it's no surprise. The young man created the golden light. They speculate that it could be a revelation and admire his exceptional talent. They believe that even combined, they cannot match him. A man at the computer shows satisfaction with the outcome. Zhang, done with the theatrics, asks if he can go home, as he still needs to head to the club for a massage. They tell him he can leave and wait for the notification. Zhang asks, confused, what they mean by the notification. His uncle stands up and explains that it's the notification for the special training camp. The scene shifts to his shadow form perched on a building, looking worried. As they exit the building, Lu reminds him that he warned him not to attract attention. Now, everyone on the night patrol knows about him. Zhang, scratching his head, apologizes for the trouble caused. Lu, still smiling, admits he's unsure how to handle things with Li. He doesn't want Li to become too remarkable. Lu reassures him that things will be fine and reminds him to return for the special training camp. On March 25th, when Jiang asks about the camp, Lu explains it will be months of intensive training, followed by a martial arts exam. He takes a call and warns him not to discuss anything that happened, not even with his girlfriend. With that, Lu leaves, once more reminding him to return for training, leaving Jiang alone on the rooftop in his shadow form. Jiang opens the system window. The display shows he has only 20 days left to live. Realizing that the exam starts in 2 months and will last for several months, he knows his time is running out. His best chance is to hunt as much as possible to extend his life. As he walks down the street, he becomes alert. A creature with 27% blood traits appears before him. It glows faintly green and moves at an incredible speed in an unknown direction. Seizing the chance, he quickly follows it, blending into the shadows. The creature senses his presence and shudders with fear. He marks it, causing its mouth to open and glow even brighter. Without hesitation, he leaps forward and strikes, using his technique. His magical energy rips through the creature. The system window updates, showing that the monster is severely wounded and trying to escape. But it has no chance. Its life ends and the system confirms a successful hunt. His remaining time increases to 22 days. His combat skills improve and he gains more shadow points. He exhales in relief, grateful for the luck. Though he dislikes scavenging, he admits it would have been foolish not to take this opportunity. Suddenly, a voice calls from behind. Turning cautiously, he sees a man in the shadow. The man, wearing a red helmet, demands to know where his creature is. Nervously, Zhang tries to find a response while absorbing shadow points from the creature. The man pulls out a club and steps forward aggressively, accusing him of being a thief. Confused, Zhang asks what he means. The man insists that Zhang has taken something from him. Zhang flinches as the man advances, but for some reason, he stops. A realization hits him, removing his helmet. He examines Zhang's face closely. The man suddenly bursts into excitement, realizing that this is the famous internet personality. He exclaims that he's his biggest fan and has watched all his videos. Before Jiang can respond, the man pulls out his phone. He insists on taking a selfie with him and offers to divide the creature from before into a 70-30 split. Zhang questions him about what a scavenger actually is and what he meant earlier. He stares at him, stunned, then starts filming a video claiming that the well-known internet star is harassing a P***H and taking the poor scavenger's catch. Zhang yells for him to stop and demands clarification. He grabs the man roughly and insists that he lay out the entire explanation. The man explains that scavenger is slang. Officially, they are called night watchers. They work as freelancers and can register as such once they reach an intermediate proficiency level. Zhang inquires about the pay for these freelancers. The man replies that it's modest, roughly between 6,000 and 7,000. Zhang nearly loses it upon hearing the meager earnings freelancers receive. Music.